Chapter 2883. While Du Xiaofu was still in shock, the pillars of light began to change drastically and began to collapse. At this moment he felt like a fish in water. Facing this giant net, he had no way to escape and was unable to move. But in the next moment, a walla sound could be heard. A burst of resplendent brilliance surged from his body. Tens of thousands of rays of multicolored light, thousands of auspicious colors. A similar net-like object emerged from the surface of his body and rose into the air. It expanded rapidly and quickly overlapped with the large net above him. Du Xiaofu's gaze trembled violently. He was no stranger to the giant net that shot up into the sky from his body. Years ago, when he fought against the demon god, after he died and came back to life, when he seized control of the heavenly Tao, he used this net to connect with the heavens and earth of this world, establishing a mysterious connection. From then on, Du Xiaofu controlled the heavenly Tao of this world. With that, he was able to manipulate the power of the heavens and earth. In Shenwu world, he was able to borrow the formless laws of order to fight and become the ruler of Shenwu world. But now, this mysterious power was being extracted from his body. In just a moment, Du Xiaofu felt that the formless connection between him and the heavens and earth had disappeared, as if it had never existed in the first place. This discovery made him extremely shocked. He had no idea how this could happen. If he lost the connection he established with the heavens, then he would no longer have the advantage in this world. If another powerful cultivator from the outside world came, then Shenwu world would truly be in danger. However, before Du Xiaofu could think any further, a new change occurred to the two huge nets that had merged into one in the sky. Under his observation, the giant net formed by the pillars of light faintly emitted the sound of wind and thunder. The surrounding light bloomed, and faintly, the heavens and earth trembled. Following the appearance of this scene, an ancient and wild aura, as if the heavens and earth had just been created, slowly spread out from the light net. It was as if all the ancient, wild, and desolate aura in this entire space was being emitted from this net. It had an indescribable mystery. Within this aura, Du Xiaofu felt an immense pressure on his body. Looking at the light net, his soul trembled. Du Xiaofu suddenly felt that he was indescribably small, as if he was a grain of sand in this boundless world, as if he was a grain of sand in the vast universe. Following that, the giant net suddenly pressed down, as if it was descending from the heavens, directly enveloping Du Xiaofu's body. The space rippled, and Du Xiaofu immediately closed his eyes. In that instant, Du Xiaofu felt that he was in a foreign place. Looking carefully, this place was dazzling and magnificent. Looking down, Du Xiaofu realized that he was wearing a dragon robe, with a dragon crown on his head. He looked just like a monarch of the human world. Monarch! Numbing noises rang out one after another. Following which, Du Xiaofu saw quite a number of graceful, exquisite, and charming women appear in front of him. All of them were twisting their waists and shaking their buttocks, trying their best to please him as they surrounded him. Du Xiaofu was stunned. He didn't know where this place was, and why did he become like this again? Is this a test? Du Xiaofu's eyes widened, as such a thought appeared in his mind. He didn't know where all this came from, but at the same time, he felt something strange. Your Majesty, please favor us. We will serve you well. Each and every one of the beautiful and alluring women became extremely enchanting. Their charming faces were filled with smiles, and pairs of hands began to caress Du Xiaofu's chest. You want to shake my heart and disturb my state of mind with your vulgar and illusory things? Du Xiaofu's gaze darkened as he suddenly shouted. His words were like a thunderclap that resounded within the dazzling hall. Chi. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the enchanting women in front of him all turned into illusions, and then disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, a cliff suddenly appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. There was no passage on the cliff, only a narrow staircase. The staircase went from the bottom to the top, and it towered into the clouds as if it was going to cross a layer of heaven. The staircase was overflowing with cold light. Du Xiaofu took a closer look and found that the staircase was made up of countless blades. There were at least tens of thousands of steps, and they were all densely packed with blades. What surprised Du Xiaofu even more was that there was no qi in his body at all. He couldn't mobilize the power of law, let alone draw out the Taoist rhymes. Even his physique was exactly the same as an ordinary person's. Looking at the cliff, Du Xiaofu didn't need to think to know that the illusory world he had just come out of was also an illusory world. But even though he knew that it was an illusory world, he couldn't get out. In this illusory world, he had no advantages, and was no different from an ordinary person. Looking at the steps of blades, Du Xiaofu didn't need to guess to know that he had to walk up, or else he wouldn't be able to get out of this illusory world. And if he retreated, he would lose a great opportunity. He was already no different from an ordinary person. If he walked up the steps of blades, Du Xiaofu knew that he wouldn't be far from death. If he died in this illusory world, he would really die. Isn't it just a test? So what if I walk it? Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered, and an unyielding spirit rose from the bottom of his heart. He didn't know what he was going to experience, but he could imagine some things. This place was probably where the greatest secret of Shenwu world was buried. It must be an extraordinary place, or a secret place left behind by an ancient person. It must be known that the body of the demon ancestor was suppressed in this place. If he wanted to obtain the greatest secret, then he had to keep walking. This was probably a test of life and death. But he didn't know what benefits awaited him after this test. Thinking up to here, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but feel some anticipation. No matter how difficult it is, it won't stop me. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. Even though he was only an ordinary person, the conviction in his heart didn't waver at all. This was the unyielding spirit that he had accumulated for hundreds of years. Then, he took a step forward and walked up the steps of blades. As Du Xiaofu stepped onto the steps, the sharp edges of the blades were sharper than Du Xiaofu's imagination. They directly pierced through the soles of his shoes and into Du Xiaofu's feet. Ah! Du Xiaofu immediately screamed in pain. It was incomparably miserable. He hadn't experienced this kind of pain in a long time. He was now an ordinary person, and an ordinary person without any advantages. He only had an ordinary body, and everything about him was no different from an ordinary person. But before Du Xiaofu stepped onto the path of cultivation, he had never experienced this kind of pain. Only now did he know how painful it was. The blades pierced into his feet, and blood immediately flowed out, dyeing the blades red. Ah! As Du Xiaofu's other foot landed, another scream came from his mouth. This time, the blades pierced into his feet and blood flowed out. The pain was unbearable, piercing straight into his bones. Looking at the tens of thousands of steps of blades, Du Xiaofu's teeth chattered. Step by step, the blades pierced into the soles of his feet with every step. The blades were exceptionally sharp, and this kind of pain was unbearable for Du Xiaofu. After reaching hundreds of steps of blades, Du Xiaofu's feet were already dripping with blood. Large amounts of blood flowed out, and his flesh was badly mangled. His skin and flesh were lacerated, and even his bones could be seen. The blades once again landed on the same bloody wounds, and the flesh was torn apart. It was a tragic sight. Ah! Du Xiaofu was in constant pain. His face was pale, and bean-sized beads of cold sweat continuously dripped from his forehead. It was only a few hundred steps, and Du Xiaofu was already unable to continue. This kind of intense pain was simply not something an ordinary person could continue to endure. Moreover, it was only a few hundred steps, and there were tens of thousands of steps above. Continue, and no one can stop me. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth. His feet could no longer continue walking. Du Xiaofu directly knelt on the ground and used his knees to move up the steps. His knees were immediately more painful than his feet, but Du Xiaofu still endured all of this. Only when he knew that his knees were completely lacerated and his bones were exposed, and he could no longer use his knees, did Du Xiaofu stop. At this time, he had only climbed thousands of steps. Under these thousands of extremely sharp and fierce steps, Du Xiaofu's feet and knees were already lacerated. Blood flowed out along the way, and his face was absolutely pale. If it was an ordinary person, how could they endure it? They would have been scared to death. However, Du Xiaofu was not scared. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth. Looking at the straight steps, he directly used his buttocks to sit back. Step by step, he used his buttocks to jump back, all the way up, and blood flowed out. Step by step, until his buttocks were also lacerated. Du Xiaofu had no choice but to continue using his feet, then his knees, and then his buttocks, and so on. After an unknown period of time, 10 days, or perhaps dozens of days, when Du Xiaofu stood at the top of this cliff, only the white bones of his lower body were left. His flesh had all fallen off, and his blood had flowed out. This last step of the steps, Du Xiaofu even used all of his strength to climb up with his bare hands. When Du Xiaofu climbed up the last step of the steps, he thought that he could break through this illusion. Who would have thought that what awaited Du Xiaofu was a large sea of fire? Behind this cliff, there was actually a sea of fire. The blazing temperature caused the space to ripple, covering the sky and the sun, and pervading the entire space. Don't tell me I have to cross this sea of fire. At this point, Du Xiaofu did not even believe that this was an illusion. This was real pain. At this moment, his flesh was lacerated, and his blood flowed out. Everything was real, and it did not look like an illusion at all. Du Xiaofu even suspected that this was not a test at all, but a huge scam set up by some expert in the past. He actually jumped directly into this huge scam, as if he was facing a dead end. Since I have walked through the mountain of blades, how can I not continue to walk through this sea of fire? Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth and directly jumped into the rolling sea of fire. At this moment, just as Du Xiaofu jumped into the sea of fire, he suddenly felt his whole body tremble, and his soul shook violently. Is this really an illusion? Du Xiaofu immediately opened his eyes. Only now did he realize that everything just now was caused by an illusion. At this moment, when he woke up, he was still enveloped by the light of the huge net of light. His entire body was in ruins, and a desolate, ancient, and savage aura enveloped him. Rumble. As Du Xiaofu opened his eyes, a vast aura flowed and rose within the huge net of light. The thick pillars of light lay across it, and they were as complicated as the meridians of the human body. It was difficult to see through their trajectories. However, Du Xiaofu was soon able to see something unusual under the circulation of a large amount of energy. He realized that the pillars of light seemed to be some sort of mark engraved in the world, and they explained the profound and powerful truths of the Great Tao. These truths of the Great Tao were extremely profound, obscure, and difficult to grasp. However, Du Xiaofu was already at the illusory path realm. Even though his cultivation was no longer there, his vision was still extremely sharp. It actually carries such profound traces of the Great Tao. What exactly is this thing? Du Xiaofu was shocked to the extreme. Under his observation, the pillars of light seemed to be branded with some sort of mysterious mark, and there was energy flowing endlessly within them. At the same time, the numerous pillars of light interweaved together and even inscribed a terrifying force that was difficult to estimate. It seemed capable of suppressing a large world, and even just looking at it caused Du Xiaofu to be unable to help but tremble without end. He had never come into contact with such a terrifying power. Perhaps an expert like his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu could weave such a terrifying net of light, but after all of his power was restrained and could not be seen so clearly by Du Xiaofu. Huff, huff, huff. At this moment, Du Xiaofu no longer felt the pain in his body. The injuries caused by the mountain of blades did not affect his mind at all. At the same time, the surrounding sea of fire was still burning fiercely, but it did not cause any harm to him. Instead, a strange energy flowed into his body. Silently, Du Xiaofu's body was constantly being repaired, and his wounds healed quickly. This sea of fire did not seem to be a dangerous place, and it was more like a tonic that surged through every inch of his flesh and blood. Du Xiaofu stared motionlessly at the net of light in the distance. He wanted to exhaust all his ability to remember every trace. He faintly felt that every trace that formed the net of light was extremely terrifying. If he could remember it, he would definitely benefit endlessly in the future. The great Tao energy within it was supreme. It was as if he was in the ancient times, at the beginning of the chaos and the beginning of the heavens and earth. The scenes before his eyes were the evolution of the great Tao, engraving its traces, and then evolving into a myriad of laws. In the ancient times, those terrifying existences that were able to reach the Tao carrier realm had all experienced such a process, and they were able to clearly sense the evolution of the great Tao and the birth of laws. After countless years, such a fortuitous encounter was something that everyone yearned for but couldn't obtain. However, his cultivation had suffered an enormous loss now, and it was impossible for his vision to be compared to when he was at the Void Tao realm. So no matter how he observed it, it was impossible for him to remember it clearly. What profound principles! How extraordinary! It's truly extraordinary. Even if it was impossible for him to remember everything, Du Xiaofu still seemed as if he was intoxicated, and he ceaselessly observed the trajectories of all the pillars of light while he let out a string of praises and clicked his tongue without end. He was truly shocked, and tempestuous waves were surging in his heart, causing him to be unable to calm down. At this moment, Du Xiaofu wasn't intentionally searching for the principles of the great Tao and the derivation of the laws to improve his cultivation. This was merely worship towards the supreme grand Tao, reverence towards the supreme principles of the world. It wasn't difficult to imagine that after this observation, so long as he left this place, he would definitely be able to obtain unimaginable growth in a short period of time. He would be able to advance a step further in the Void Tao realm. Under such circumstances, it was equivalent to learning how to draw. If you were given a drawing to refer to, you might not necessarily be able to draw it well. But if you were to let the painter demonstrate it once, and then let you copy it, the final result would naturally be different. Drawing a ladle according to the gourd would be more realistic than relying on imagination. While Du Xiaofu was seriously observing the situation in the distance, he didn't realize that the circulating energy in those pillars of light was also constantly emitted, entering the sea of fire, and then entering Du Xiaofu's body. His injuries were rapidly recovering, and the strength in his body was also rapidly increasing. After an unknown period of time, finally, all of Du Xiaofu's injuries were completely healed, and his entire mental appearance changed from before, and all the fatigue and pain were swept away. With the return of his strength, he looked at the trajectories of those pillars of light, and it became much simpler. The principles of the great Tao and the traces of the laws contained within were much clearer and easier to understand. More and more trajectories were memorized and engraved in his mind. Not long after, Du Xiaofu, with a serious expression, slowly closed his eyes, and his legs unconsciously sat down cross-legged, entering a strange state. The surrounding sea of fire suddenly became much more intense, pushing forward like a huge wave, surging and surging. All of them rushed into Du Xiaofu's body, and were all silently absorbed by him. But Du Xiaofu himself was completely unaware of this. High up in the sky, the terrifying light net fluctuated, and the traces were still twisting from time to time. Not long after, the huge light net suddenly shrank and quickly enveloped Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged. The terrifying power of the great Tao was boiling, and the power of the laws was shaking, setting off a terrifying scene. Everywhere the net of light passed, the void would turn into chaos. It was a terrifying scene. Swish! When the light net finally shrank to cover Du Xiaofu's body, it directly disappeared from his body in a flash. Chapter 2884. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged in the void like an old monk meditating. After the terrifying net of light was absorbed into his body, his entire being seemed to have a unique charm. The power of the great path flowed and shuttled through Du Xiaofu's body, washing and cleansing his body and divine soul. Outside this space, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were still waiting in front of the huge door of light. When the two of them saw Du Xiaofu disappear, they retreated a bit to ensure that they did not consume too much energy to resist. But as time passed, they became a bit anxious. Dad has been in there for a long time. I don't know what's the situation now. Could something have happened? Little Xingxing frowned and said worriedly. It's been a few months, but there's still no movement. It's too quiet. Du Xiaoyao was also worried and said while looking forward. This was the place where the demon ancestor's body was buried. It was extraordinary, and no one knew what great secret it was hiding. And if this great secret was really touched by Du Xiaofu, it would be accompanied by unimaginable danger. Because of this, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were very worried. "Dad will be fine. Let's continue waiting here," little Xingxing said. She had a lot of confidence in Du Xiaofu. For so many years, no matter what kind of challenge he encountered, there was no one he could not overcome. "Let's wait a bit more. If it really doesn't work, we'll go in again." Du Xiaoyao nodded and agreed with little Xingxing. Having confidence in Du Xiaofu was one thing, but she could not help but worry. After the two of them talked for a bit, they stopped talking and waited quietly outside the huge door of light. During the time when Du Xiaofu entered the door of light and walked through the mountain of blades and into the sea of fire, the divine martial world was still peaceful. The 3 oblivion experts of the Qiansu Jinghua heaven who were killed did not cause any changes in this world as if they had never been here. However, in the distant 33 heavens, it wasn't as peaceful as it was now. Something huge had happened. In Qiongwu heaven. Since the commotion had appeared on Burial Sky Mountain all those years ago, it had drawn the attention of numerous experts, and in the end, it had even attracted the attention of countless Eternal Realm experts. Later, a young man in gold and a girl of 17 or 18 years old walked out, which puzzled many people. However, right after the two of them appeared, a large number of beastmen from the Qiansu Jinhua heavens suddenly arrived and clashed with them. In the end, more than 20 oblivion experts appeared, almost caused a war, and the creatures in this world were terrified. This kind of scene was something countless living beings had never seen before. It was incomparably shocking. But for some reason, those experts all retreated in the end and no longer paid attention to the things in the Burial Space Mountain. All the creatures in Yin Qiongwu heaven breathed a sigh of relief. They all felt like they had survived a disaster. Otherwise, if those 20 oblivion experts started a chaotic battle, countless people would have been caught in the crossfire. Since then, no one dared to have any ideas about the Burial Space Mountain. That place was still terrifying. Only a few greedy people lingered around it, but they did not dare to set foot in it. Suddenly, on this very day, rumbling resounded throughout Burial Sky Mountain, and a wave of enormous tremors arose. Along with it, the earth was rolling. Endless land and mountains surged up like waves and crazily spread out. At the same time, terrifying shockwaves shook. They were extremely ferocious and turned into an invisible force. In an instant, they swept through the heavens and the earth. Those greedy people in the vicinity had their bodies swept through by this terrifying power. They were instantly turned into dust and died an unnatural death. Among those who died, there was no lack of immortal realm experts. But no one knew how they died. In a distant area, many creatures were affected. Everyone felt a terrifying aura pervading the air, and a sense of uneasiness that went deep into their bones instantly filled them. What happened in the Burial Space Mountain? Why did it cause such a huge change? What a terrifying feeling. It seems like some great evil is turning over. There really is a great secret buried in there. But this aura is clearly not of the good kind. It's too terrifying. I feel like I can't stay in Qiongwu heaven any longer. I'm afraid something even more terrifying is going to happen. Many people were discussing. Everyone was anxious, and a horrifying atmosphere pervaded the air. Many creatures smelled an unusual aura of danger. Some even faintly felt that Yin Qiongwu heaven was no longer a safe place. It seemed like a terrifying lord was turning over in the Burial Space Mountain and was about to come into being. Some people with insufficient cultivation or cowardice immediately started to plan to retreat and leave Yin Qiongwu heaven to avoid the possible disaster. But there were still many experts who stayed to see what was going on. It's an ancient land left behind not long after the creation of heaven and earth. The Burial Space Mountain might really have buried some ferocious creature back then. Ever since those meditative experts appeared and left, I felt that this must be more terrifying than I imagined. This time, I'm afraid some secrets that have been covered in dust for many years will be revealed. This is related to the ancient demon war. It's better to be careful. If something goes wrong, we must leave immediately. The creatures who stayed all watched everything that was happening in the burial space mountain from afar and discussed with each other. Under the investigation of their primordial spirits, a terrifying blood-red light shot up from the mountain and into the sky. The entire sky was dyed red, and a red halo filled the sky. Along with it, the boundless void was silently corroded. The blood-red light had a terrifying corrosive effect. Rumble, the sky was trembling, the earth was shaking, the void was disintegrating, and the great world was being destroyed. A doomsday-like scene quickly appeared. In just a flash, it had spread to an endless distance and enveloped a small half of the Incheongwu heaven. When the terrifying blood-red light swept out, some creatures who couldn't escape in time were instantly pierced by the blood-red light. They were directly obliterated and turned into a thick bloody mist. In just a short moment, an unknown number of living beings had died, and the blood mist that exploded from these living beings all condensed together and gathered in one direction. All of them were rushing towards Burial Space Mountain. The boundless blood-red mist lingered around the Burial Space Mountain and danced in the air. The smell of blood soared into the sky, and a murderous aura surged into the sky. Chi. Soon, the boundless blood-red light's range grew larger and larger. The entire Incheongwu heaven was alarmed. Everyone felt this terrifying movement. Countless creatures rose into the sky, and their eyes were filled with shock. What kind of creature is buried there? Why is it so terrifying? It's too scary. It seems like the appearance of the creature in the Supreme Changrong heaven millions of years ago was similar to this. I can't watch any longer. That creature is too terrifying. It hasn't come out yet. Let's run. If we don't leave now, I'm afraid it'll be too late. Incheongwu heaven will become a bloody place. A situation similar to the one in the Supreme Changrong heaven will repeat itself. Everyone realized the seriousness of the matter and began to rush into the sky, intending to escape from this world. Such a terrifying scene reminded some people of what had happened in the distant Supreme Changrong heaven millions of years ago. At that time, the entire world of the Supreme Changrong heaven was suddenly filled with a dense demonic aura that filled every corner. The pungent smell of blood filled the air, and the sky was covered by a boundless blood-red light. Along with the appearance of the demonic aura was an endless killing intent that caused all creatures to tremble in fear. Even the immortal realm experts couldn't resist that terrifying killing intent. Countless creatures fell silently under that scene, dying an unnatural death. However, later on, an expert surrounded by five-colored light appeared and drove away all that horror. After that terrifying scene, countless creatures in the Supreme Changrong heaven died or were injured. No one knew how many had fallen. After everything was settled, some meditative forgetfulness experts joined forces and went out. Finally, they found a secret place, which was the Fiend God Battle Realm. Today, what happened in Incheongwu heaven was extremely similar to the scene that had appeared in the Supreme Changrong heaven many years ago. However, many people could sense that the creature in Burial Space Mountain was clearly restricted by some power, so it didn't display all its terrifying power and didn't cause too much damage for the time being. However, the terrifying pressure that filled the void with ferocity and ruthlessness made everyone shudder in fear. They could smell the aura of death. No one dared to stay any longer. All of them were as anxious as stray dogs. Could it be that all of them wanted to flee? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In some places in Incheongwu heaven, many old figures flashed out and stood in midair. All of them looked in the direction of Burial Space Mountain with burning eyes. Their old, turbid eyes were filled with deep worry. Is that creature about to come into being again? An old man who looked like he had one foot in the grave stood alone in the sky and muttered to himself. His shriveled lips opened and closed. The great Tao origin energy in his body circulated madly to isolate all the bloody and murderous aura so that he wouldn't be disturbed. I'm afraid we really can't suppress it anymore. The blood ancestor is about to appear again. An equally old voice came from afar and entered the old man's ears. The primordial phoenix's power has been exhausted to the extreme. It can no longer suppress the blood ancestor. In another direction, a long sigh reverberated in the void. The 33 heavens are about to fall into chaos again. In the end, we still can't escape this calamity. The old man who had one foot in the grave shook his head and felt powerless. As a powerhouse who rose to prominence after the ancient demon war, he knew many things about the ancient era. He also had a good understanding of the demon race and the Hell-Blood Phoenix clan. The blood ancestor's name shook the 33 heavens and made countless people tremble in fear. The meaning of his existence was to kill and to reap the benefits of bloodshed. Now that he had appeared again, there was no need to think too much. It would inevitably bring about a terrifying slaughter. However, in the current 33 heavens, Great God Pangu, Empyrean Absolute, and many other powerhouses of the Tao-carrying realm were no longer present. What ability did they have to contend with the Blood Ancestor? The rebirth of the Blood Ancestor meant disaster and destruction. It would be difficult for anyone to escape. I hope those true old ancestors can also come back to life. Otherwise, with the current strength of the 33 heavens, no one can suppress the Blood Ancestor. The old voice in the distance sounded once more, filled with melancholy. Let's first protect the creatures of this world and retreat. No matter what, the bloodlines of the many races must continue. Someone else spoke up. In the current situation, they couldn't stop it. The Blood Ancestor was a powerhouse of the Tao-carrying realm. Even though he had been exhausted to the limit and had suppressed the primordial phoenix for countless years, he was still not someone they could touch. He was an existence that had broken free from the shackles of the great Tao of the world and walked out his own path. He possessed a supreme might that was unparalleled. With the Blood Ancestor appearing, the demon race will likely make a move. An old man sighed with emotion. As the strongest of the 33 heavens, there were many things that could not be hidden from them. Millions of years ago, the terrifying change in the supreme Changrong heaven was most likely related to the demon race. Recently, some things had revealed some clues of the demon race's re-emergence, causing these meditative forgetfulness powerhouses to worry. If the demon race reappeared, in addition to the Blood Ancestor and the countless beasts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, the 33 heavens would not be able to continue to be peaceful. Perhaps, a terrifying battle would take place in the near future. When the time came, countless creatures would fall. The world would be in a state of panic and mourn. Don't worry, someone will stand up and lead all creatures to face all of this. Weren't the demon race of the ancient era also ferocious? But in the end, they were still suppressed. That's why the 33 heavens have been peaceful for so many years, said an expert. His voice fell clearly into the ears of all the meditative forgetfulness powerhouses. When the others heard this, they all fell silent. No one nodded in agreement, but no one explicitly objected either. In the ancient era, there were great gods like Pangu, Exalted Celestial, and many Tao attainment powerhouses. But now, there were only a few hundred meditative forgetfulness powerhouses left in the 33 heavens. Even if the demon race didn't appear, the Blood Ancestor's might alone was enough to overturn all of the worlds. He was currently the strongest existence in the world, and no one could compare to him. Therefore, no one knew who would be able to stand up and become the leader of all living beings and face all of this. Sigh. After a long time, a sigh spread through the void, causing the hearts of the meditative forgetfulness powerhouses to sink. Let's do it. If we delay any longer, more people will die. While the Blood Ancestor's power is still slowly accumulating, let's save as many as we can. In the end, the old man with one foot in the grave gently shook his head and said, even with his meditative forgetfulness physique, he found it difficult to endure the bloody light that filled the sky. As for the other creatures, it was as if they were facing the end of the world. Too many people had already fallen near Burial Sky Mountain. Open! The old man didn't think any further. The corners of his shriveled and wrinkled lips moved slightly as he spat out this word. However, this simple word was like a sudden clap of thunder that exploded in the sky, causing the world to tremble. Kaboom! It was as if there was a pair of invisible hands in the sky that suddenly tore and instantly tore a terrifying crack in the sky. It was as if an abyss lay across the sky. Within this crack in the void, there was a terrifying, mysterious power circulating, releasing a ferocious aura. At the same time, a different aura was transmitted from the crack in the void, bringing with it the aura of other worlds. A powerhouse has made a move and opened a spatial tunnel. Let's go! It's the meditative forgetfulness patriarch. They've made a move. We're saved. Let's go! Escape to other worlds. Seeing the crack in the void appear, countless creatures were overjoyed. Like locusts that filled the sky, they rushed into the crack in the void with all their might. Everyone realized that this was the meditative forgetfulness patriarch making a move to open a path of survival for them. As long as they entered the crack in the void, they could escape to other worlds and avoid this disaster. Oh no, the bloody light is getting brighter and brighter. If we don't escape, we will die in this world. However, there were far too many creatures in this world. Even though the meditative forgetfulness patriarch had opened a spatial tunnel, it could not allow too many people to leave at the same time. In order to fight for the opportunity to enter the crack in the void, some creatures began to fight. Instantly, the sound of killing filled the air and resonated through the clouds. Nobody wanted to die in this world. Only by fighting with their lives on the line could they have a chance to live. Do not panic. At this moment, a godlike voice descended from the sky. It was extremely ethereal, like a basin of clear spring water. It caused the killing intent in the hearts of many beings to cool down. The killing intent in their hearts was suppressed as well. Swish! Immediately after, another crack in the void appeared in another place. It also led to the outside world. Another powerhouse has made a move. Let's go! Many creatures who were close to the crack in the void were overjoyed. They rushed forward and headed directly for the crack in the void. Swish, swish! Then, more cracks in the void were torn apart and appeared in various places in Yin Qiong boundless heaven. There were more than 10 of them in total. All the creatures could guess that it was the meditative forgetfulness patriarchs of Yin Qiong boundless heaven who had made a move to help them escape from this world. Otherwise, if the commotion in the burial void mountain continued to spread, too many people would die in the end. Run, run, run. All the creatures were in a state of panic and fear. At this time, no one cared about the resources left in this world. Many things that could not be taken away from the sects and clans were abandoned. No matter how many worldly possessions there were, they were not as important as their lives. Countless people rushed into the sky. Their figures were densely packed and gathered below the 10 cracks in the void. They rushed with all their might, hoping to leave this world as soon as possible. On the other hand, the surroundings of Space Burial Mountain had been completely covered by a blood mist, and the dense blood mist was like a river that flowed through the air. The murderous, bloody, and violent aura continued to expand, and the momentum became greater and greater. Chapter 2885. The 33 heavens were in an uproar. Every living being in every world was alarmed. A great beast has been born in Yin Qiong boundless heaven. This news swept through every world like a storm. Countless people knew about it. All living beings in that world have retreated and scattered to the various worlds. However, there are still many who didn't manage to escape and died in Yin Qiong boundless heaven. I heard that the great beast is a creature from ancient times. It's extremely terrifying. Even before it was born, it already caused Yin Qiong boundless heaven to turn scarlet and fill the sky with blood. According to some experts, it's an existence that experienced the ancient demonic war. It's the strongest living being in the world. I think it's called the Blood Ancestor. Its cultivation base is sky-high and its strength is extraordinary. It seems to be in the Tao Carrier realm. It's an existence on the same level as the ancestral dragon, primordial phoenix, and primordial qilin. Tao Carrier realm? Isn't that a realm that only exists in legends? Everything in the ancient times is a legend to us. It's not unimaginable that the great beast of that time had reached the Tao Carrier realm. Yeah, the ancient times are legends to begin with. I really don't know how terrifying the strength of a Tao Carrier realm is. In the various worlds, there were countless living beings discussing this matter endlessly. The fate of Yin Qiong boundless heaven had shocked them all. Some people with deep backgrounds were even able to find out information that most people didn't know about. They knew some secrets about the giant beast and how terrifying it was. At the same time, the two words, Tao Carrier, were earth-shattering and crashed into the discussions of all living beings. None of the living beings in the current world had ever seen the Tao Carrier realm because it was a realm that only existed in legends. Most people couldn't be sure if it really existed or if it was just a legend. However, after many people confirmed it, the 33 heavens were shocked beyond belief. None of them could believe that such an existence had been born. The Blood Ancestor is the primordial ancestor of the Hell Blood Phoenix clan in the ancient times. Its status is on par with the ancestral dragon, primordial phoenix, and primordial Qilin. It said that when heaven and earth were first created, the beast race of Qian Su Jinghua heaven colluded with the demon race to conquer the 33 heavens. Back then, in order to suppress it, Yuan Feng didn't hesitate to destroy her own cultivation and die. The burial void mountain in the Yinqiong uncorroded heaven is the place where Yuan Feng suppressed the blood progenitor. It's a pity that the primordial phoenix's power has been completely exhausted and the blood ancestor is about to appear. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for the 33 heavens to continue to be peaceful. The birth of a Tao bearer will be an unprecedented disaster. I wonder if there are similarly terrifying powerhouses hidden within the 33 heavens. All of the living beings began to worry. Just the words, carrying the Tao, were enough to illustrate the blood ancestor's power. This made everyone's hearts feel incredibly heavy. However, there were also people who wondered if some of the experts who had fought against the demon clan in ancient times were still alive in this world. If there was, then the appearance of the blood ancestor might not have truly overturned the 33 heavens. But regardless of whether there was or not, one thing was certain. The return of the blood ancestor would inevitably cause a tragic massacre and bloodshed. This was absolutely unavoidable. At that time, countless living beings would die. Let's leave it to the heavens. That level of existence is not something we can touch. Whether or not anyone can stop the blood ancestor, it's not up to us. The only thing we can do is silently pray that we won't be affected. Some of the living beings sighed endlessly. In front of a Tao bearer expert, they were all ants. Even if they were immortal or meditative, what could they do? Everyone's fate could only be determined by the development of the following events. It was also because of this that many of the old ancestors in the 33 heavens came out of seclusion one after another. These were all meditative forgetfulness experts, the top experts of the present age. After some planning, all of the meditative forgetfulness experts came to a consensus. They ordered their subordinates to prepare for war with all their might. Because of this, the entire 33 heavens entered a period of deep concentration. Everyone raised their spirits to the maximum. They couldn't defeat the blood ancestor, but they absolutely wouldn't sit and wait for death. The beasts of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven were likely to make another move. Let's do our best and leave it to the heavens. I just don't know if there are any experts from ancient times left. An expert sighed. His gaze pierced through the void, observing the changes in the Yinqiong flawless heaven. Under the observation of a group of meditative forgetfulness experts, the changes in the buried void mountain continued until one day, when a terrifying blood-red light penetrated the entire world. Under the terrifying burst of power, the laws and order of the Yinqiong flawless heaven were changed. The mountains and the earth shook incessantly. The power of laws was rewritten. The vault of heaven trembled incessantly. The entire world was shaken. The dense soil seemed to have turned into a flood, rolling and surging non-stop. Screech! A ferocious phoenix cry reverberated through the void. It pierced through the universe, shaking the 9 heavens, shaking the 9 underworlds, and shattering the blue skies and yellow springs. Then, an incomparably huge blood-red phoenix broke free from the shackles of the earth and rose into the sky. With a flap of its wings, the world was destroyed and all things turned to dust. Layers of terrifying crimson light burst forth from the blood-red phoenix's body. Even the meditative forgetfulness experts in the distant worlds felt their primordial spirits tremble and incomparable stabs of pain. They were injured to a certain extent in an instant. So this is the realm of carrying Tao, many experts muttered incessantly. They withdrew the power of their primordial spirits, not daring to act rashly. The power of the blood ancestor was not something they could match. Even the natural power of the blood ancestor could injure those in the meditative forgetfulness realm. And this was under the condition that the blood ancestor had yet to recover. One could imagine that if the blood ancestor was at his peak, a single thought would be enough to crush countless beings. Screech! Another phoenix cry reverberated. The various worlds in the 33 heavens could vaguely hear it. Then, a large expanse of blood-red light surged through the sky like a blood-red sun, which was seen by all the beings in the world. But soon, the blood-red sun disappeared again. The terrifying energy also quickly disappeared like flowing water. Phew! Countless beings breathed a sigh of relief as if they had just walked through the gates of hell. The blood ancestor has left the Yin Qiong flawless heaven. He went to the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. An expert said, revealing the whereabouts of the blood ancestor. It was also from this moment on that the blood ancestor did not make any more movements. But the vast 33 heavens did not calm down because of this. Instead, it became more and more noisy. Almost everywhere was discussing this matter. Such an unforeseen event was too shocking. The Qian Su Jinghua heaven has already surrendered to the demon race. After the blood ancestor returns, the demon race will most likely make a big move. For some of the meditative forgetfulness realm experts, the news of the demon race's return could not be hidden from them. Therefore, the heaviness in these people's hearts was heavier than any other living beings. The 33 heavens will be in chaos again. Many people sighed, their hearts filled with hidden worries. However, this situation that alarmed the entire 33 heavens did not affect the distant Shenwu world. Although the current Shenwu world had already surpassed the scale of a small world and was not inferior to any of the great worlds, the beings in the heavens were still very ignorant of the news. It was still peaceful here. Countless people were still immersed in the excitement of the Rock Emperor's return. For Du Xiaofu, he was even more ignorant of worldly affairs. At this moment, he was still sitting cross-legged in the space behind the door of light, receiving the nourishment of some mysterious energy. Huff, huff, huff. On Du Xiaofu's body, strange lights flickered non-stop, forming stripes. These were the traces of the origin of laws. Inside his body, vast amounts of energy shuttled non-stop, creating a terrifying rhythm and releasing thunderous sounds. The net of light that was pulled in also had the origin of the great Tao vibrating. Every strand of his primordial spirit, every inch of his flesh, was undergoing an unimaginable baptism, undergoing a huge transformation. Although he was in silence, Du Xiaofu could feel that his connection with the Shenwu world had become even closer. Swoosh, swoosh, until a certain moment, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of bright light shot out. Around him, the surging origin of laws were all absorbed into his body. Everything calmed down. What is this space? Du Xiaofu asked, feeling endless confusion. Right now, his heart was in turmoil, unable to calm down. After such a long period of comprehension, he realized that not only did his body and primordial spirit become more refined, his cultivation level also improved. But this was not the most important thing. What shocked him the most was that Du Xiaofu felt that his connection with the Shenwu world had become even closer. If before he could control the heavenly Tao and use the world's energy to fight against his enemies, then now he could change this world as he wished. The formless laws could be written by him, turning them into anything he wanted. This change could be said to be shocking and unimaginable. That giant net of light from before, could it be the center of the Shenwu world? He couldn't help but have this thought. Perhaps this was the only explanation that made sense. The heavenly Tao is formless and shapeless. To control the heavenly Tao is to resonate with the formless laws, then find out its meaning and understand it thoroughly. That way, one can become the ruler and control all forces. The difference between Du Xiaofu and the ancestor of the Du clan was that the ancestor of the Du clan had merged with the heavenly Tao and became one with it. But Du Xiaofu was independent of the heavenly Tao, and at the same time, secretly connected with it. But right now, Du Xiaofu was far above the heavenly Tao. It was as if the heavenly Tao was created by him, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. This feeling was indescribably wonderful, but also difficult to describe in words. Could this be the secret of the Xinwu world? Du Xiaofu was a bit suspicious. He had received unimaginable benefits, but he still felt like he hadn't had enough. The place where the demon ancestor's body was sealed all those years ago only buried these benefits. Could it not uncover the truth? With endless doubts, he stood up and looked around. It was still empty. The mountain of blades, the sea of flames, the terrifying net, they were all gone. There must be something that hasn't been discovered yet. Du Xiaofu thought to himself. His eyes shone brightly as he looked around. The entire Shenwu world was under his control, but this space was still not under his control. He closed his eyes and began to carefully sense. An invisible force rippled out, turning into a strange, mysterious force that began to investigate. All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu's eyes snapped open. In his perception, another power had appeared in the space. His eyes scanned around, and a chaotic light appeared in his vision. Yes, it was indeed chaotic light. It shone with a mysterious light, as if it was right in front of him, but also very far away. One of the chaotic lights, with Du Xiaofu's current cultivation level, he couldn't understand what was inside. This was an extremely mysterious force, one that surpassed Du Xiaofu's knowledge. Swoosh! In the next second, the chaotic light flashed and turned into a human silhouette that appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. This human silhouette was tall and sturdy like a mountain. Its muscles were knotted together like a dragon's body, and it carried with it a terrifying sense of power. Immediately after, the mountain-like figure transformed again, turning into a middle-aged man with a wide black robe covering his body. The middle-aged man had thick eyebrows, wide eyes, and a black beard. Between his brows, there was a profound light. Along with his sturdy body that was taller than normal people, he exuded an endless amount of dominance. Du Xiaofu mumbled again. His entire body was frozen in place, and he didn't move for a long time. He stared at the middle-aged man without moving, as if he was petrified. He had never seen this person before, and he didn't know where he came from. But from the aura he was exuding, Du Xiaofu felt that he was a terrifying existence. "I'm Du Xiaofu. Sorry to disturb you, senior." After a long time, Du Xiaofu came back to his senses and bowed respectfully to the middle-aged man. He didn't dare to slight such an existence. Judging from this person's aura, his cultivation was probably on par with senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. Most importantly, he appeared in the most secretive place in Divine Battle World, which made Du Xiaofu both excited and puzzled. The middle-aged man watched Du Xiaofu's actions and didn't say anything. However, after a short moment, a faint sentence came out of his mouth, and it was like a thunderclap that exploded in Du Xiaofu's ears. It caused his entire body to suddenly tremble and tremble like a sieve. "Lord Daluo." When Du Xiaofu heard these words, he was shocked like never before. "Lord Daluo? Lord Daluo? It's Lord Daluo." Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with horror. Standing in the void, he staggered and almost fell. He had heard of Lord Daluo's name countless times. When he first arrived in the 33 heavens, he had heard of him in the Fiend God battlefield. Later on, senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had also mentioned him. Lord Daluo was a terrifying existence on par with Great God Pangu. He had participated in the ancient demon war and was famous throughout the ages. It was under the leadership of Lord Daluo and Great God Pangu that the beings of the 33 heavens had stopped the terrifying slaughter of the demon race. Moreover, they had suppressed the demon god's body in Divine Battle World, separated the demon ancestor's primordial spirit, and sealed it in the 18 layers of hell. No matter what, Du Xiaofu didn't expect to see Lord Daluo here. Junior Du Xiaofu greets Senior Exalted Celestial. Du Xiaofu once again bowed respectfully and paid his respects. Lord Daluo's achievements were enough to make him a distant ancestor of all beings in the 33 heavens. He could make people feel respect and reverence for no reason. Du Xiaofu was excited to the extreme. He had a faint feeling that meeting Lord Daluo today might be able to unravel many secrets. These secrets were about the 33 heavens, the demon race, divine battle world, and the great war of the past. On the other side, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were still waiting outside the door of light. However, they were no longer as calm as they were at the beginning. They were starting to get a little impatient. It's been 2 years. 2 years. There's still no movement from boss. Du Xiaoyao paced back and forth anxiously. She was almost scratching her head. Uncle Little Yao, calm down. To a cultivator, 2 years' time is nothing more than the snap of a finger. Little Xingxing glanced at Du Xiaoyao and said, Du Xiaofu had already entered the door of light for 2 years. The two of them had also been waiting outside for 2 years. However, what worried them was that there was no movement at all during this period. It was like a pool of stagnant water. Although little Xingxing said it lightly, she was as anxious as Du Xiaoyao. This is a secret place after all. It's unheard of. No one knows what's behind this door of light. If boss encounters any trouble, we'll be in trouble. Du Xiaoyao kept a straight face and kept muttering. If it was any other place, he wouldn't be so nervous. At the very least, when countless secret places opened, it was either under the arrangements of the seniors, or many beings entered to explore, or there would be a huge commotion. But now, there wasn't even the slightest movement from Du Xiaofu's side. It was because of this that Du Xiaofu was so anxious. Ever since they knew that this was the place where the demon ancestor's body was buried, they knew that this place must be extremely terrifying. It was very likely that it was a terrifying formation. Otherwise, how could it be able to suppress the demon ancestor's body and prevent it from escaping? Du Xiaofu's current strength was far from being comparable to the demon ancestor's body. If he was in danger, no one would be able to help him. Even the masters of the 3,000 sectors couldn't help because this world had a suppressive force that could weaken everyone's cultivation. If it really doesn't work, I'll go in and take a look first. Uncle Little Yao, you continue to wait here. Little Xingxing frowned slightly and said. The ancient and desolate aura gushed out from the door of light. At the same time, it also carried an unparalleled pressure, causing the two of them to stop. However, in order to confirm Du Xiaofu's situation, little Xingxing felt that she could rush in and give it a try. No! Hearing little Xingxing's words, Du Xiaoyao shook his head like a rattle drum and immediately objected. If you want to go in, let's go in together. Chapter 2886. Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing discussed for a while. Neither of them wanted to wait any longer. Then, they jumped straight in and entered the huge door of light. What followed was a terrifying power surging over, like a long river crashing onto the two of them, trying to push them out. This invisible power was extremely ferocious, suppressing Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing to the point that they could not move. Large beads of sweat rolled down their foreheads. The space behind the door of light was too terrifying. It had a suppressive force that could shake the heavens. With their cultivation, it was really difficult for them to move. Even with such power, it still can't stop me. Du Xiaoyao gritted his teeth and said sternly. He withstood the immense pressure and walked step by step. It was extremely difficult for him to walk. We must charge in and find Dad. Little Xingxing's beautiful eyes contained endless determination. Her dragon body had already revealed itself, and the power of the 3 primordial laws was circulating wildly. She helped Du Xiaoyao take a portion of the force and walked forward with him. Their bodies seemed to have sunk into mud, and every movement was extremely difficult. It was exactly the same as when Du Xiaofu entered. However, the difference was that Du Xiaofu's strength surpassed theirs, so it was relatively easier for him. Daoless Bell rise. Little Xingxing summoned the Daoless Bell. This was a meeting gift from Lu Yuxiao, and it was an extremely terrifying treasure. It was said that under the isolation of the Daoless Bell, even the power of the Grand Tao of Forgetfulness could be blocked outside, unable to cause any harm to the people inside. At this time, little Xingxing summoned it, wanting to use this treasure to resist the terrifying power in this space. Clang. A bell that shook the heavens and earth rang out, accompanied by endless light that shrouded Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing. Invisible secret power flowed within, possessing a strange power. It actually blocked off some of the terrifying power. This power was very little, not even 1/1000th of what the two of them had to endure. However, it could still reduce their pressure a little. It was better than nothing. Go! Seizing this opportunity, little Xingxing shouted and took another step forward. Together with Du Xiaoyao, she continued to move forward. The terrifying pressure in this space made the two of them feel as if they were about to be squashed into a pancake. However, since he had already entered, there was no reason to leave. It was under such circumstances that they continued to move forward with great difficulty, taking steps in the passage. A wild, desolate, and ancient aura enveloped their bodies tightly, suppressing their primordial spirits. Dang dang dang. The Taoist bell that enveloped the two of them let out loud chimes as it continuously blocked out some of the power. Such a scene caused them to be extremely terrified in their hearts. What is this place? Why is it so terrifying? Du Xiaoyao's entire body was under immense pressure. She could no longer speak and could only ask herself in her heart. He knew how freakish and terrifying the Taoist bell was. It could isolate the meditative forgetfulness expert's great Tao source energy. However, a large portion of the aura still managed to seep through, and it couldn't be weakened by much. This was enough to show that there was an unimaginable existence behind this passage. The two of them continued to move forward, but they only felt that they would be knocked to the ground at any time and be killed by that invisible aura. After an unknown amount of time, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's entire body became numb and lost consciousness. The only thing they could feel was the difficulty of moving forward. But suddenly, their bodies relaxed, and the invisible force that surrounded them retreated like the tide. Such a change caused Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing to suddenly feel refreshed. Looking up, there was nothing in front of them. Other than the two of them, they couldn't see anything else. Huff! The two of them circulated the energy in their bodies and recovered some of their strength. What is this place? Little Xingxing put away the Taoist bell. There was no longer that terrifying pressure here, so there was no need for this thing to protect them. She looked around, but she couldn't see anything. Is boss here? Du Xiaoyao's eyes lit up as she carefully scanned every inch of space, trying to find Du Xiaofu's figure. Their purpose of entering this place was to find Du Xiaofu, but what they saw in front of them made them disappointed. Could it be that this is another special place, and I need to break through this void to find father? Little Xingxing frowned tightly and muttered. This space was very spacious, and at the same time, they couldn't sense any strange fluctuations. Even if they wanted to break through it, it made them feel like they didn't know where to start. Look carefully, I have a feeling that boss won't be too far away from us. Du Xiaoyao was worried and began to search around. Little Xingxing nodded and was about to move. However, right at this moment, an enormous rumbling sound suddenly resounded, and this space suddenly emitted a terrifying tremor. Rumble! An even more terrifying tremor erupted, and the space shook violently. As for Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, both of them were instantly flipped over by this tremor. They couldn't control themselves at all, and were like a helpless boat in a storm, being violently tossed around. Such an unforeseen event horrified them. Everything happened too suddenly, and they were not mentally prepared at all. Rumble, crack crack crack, a loud rumble, accompanied by the sound of something breaking, was heard. Thick cracks suddenly appeared in the seemingly boundless space around them, spreading all over the place. When these cracks appeared, the entire space fragments began to move, and like a sky full of rocks, they crazily smashed in the direction of little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the two figures were completely submerged, covered by the endless space fragments. After the huge pieces of space that filled the sky fell, they constantly transformed. It looked like they were melting, and a chaotic luster flowed out. When everything calmed down, a mass of chaos appeared in the void, and it was shaped like a giant egg, shining brightly. Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's figures were wrapped in it, and no movement was transmitted out. When the two of them began to enter the door of light, elsewhere, Du Xiaofu could not hide the excitement in his heart. His eyes flashed as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, and his heart was filled with excitement and reverence. The person standing in front of him was an almighty from ancient times, a legendary figure, and his name had been heard throughout the ages. Every time he was mentioned, he would be lumped together with the great god Pangu. Although the great god Pangu had opened the 33 heavens, and Heavenly Lord Absolute did not seem to have left behind any worlds. However, there was no doubt that his strength was not much weaker than the great god Pangu. Senior. Du Xiaofu could not help but tremble, and he was incomparably respectful. Since Heavenly Lord Absolute had appeared here, he could vaguely guess some facts. Perhaps the demon ancestor's physical body was suppressed in the divine martial world by him. How could Du Xiaofu not be excited with the appearance of such a world-shaking figure? With Heavenly Lord Absolute here, it would be much easier to deal with the demon race, and a large number of lives in the 33 heavens and countless small worlds would be spared. To Du Xiaofu, the reappearance of Heavenly Lord Absolute was a great thing. You are a life form of absolute heaven. Heavenly Lord Absolute suddenly said, looking at Du Xiaofu. His domineering and majestic gaze swept over, and it was 1,000,000 times more dazzling than the two suns. Absolute heaven? Hearing Heavenly Lord Absolute's words, Du Xiaofu could not help but be stunned, and he was a little confused. He tried his best to calm himself down and frowned. He did not understand and could not help but ask, Senior Heavenly Lord Absolute, what is absolute heaven? He had never heard of the name absolute heaven, but from Heavenly Lord Absolute's words, he could infer that it was the name of a world. However, in the 33 heavens outside of divine martial world, there was no world called absolute heaven. This made Du Xiaofu feel endless doubts, and he wanted to ask about it. Heavenly Lord Absolute suddenly chuckled and said, the world you were born in is absolute heaven. His gaze slightly looked into the void, as if he could see through everything, and he saw the boundless divine martial world. When Du Xiaofu heard this, he was stunned again. He was born in Stone City's Du family, and he was naturally born in divine martial world. However, did divine martial world have another name, absolute heaven? As if he could see the doubts in Du Xiaofu's heart, Heavenly Lord Absolute spoke again. Junior, I know you have a lot of questions, but no matter what it is, there is no harm in you asking. The me you see now is just an illusion left behind, and I can answer some of your questions. However, not long after, this body of mine will dissipate. A gentle smile appeared on that overbearing and dignified face, and his gaze was restrained quite a bit, and it was no longer as terrifying as before. Sinu, this is not your real body? Du Xiaofu was greatly shocked. When he heard the middle-aged man's name, he really felt that Heavenly Lord Absolute did not fall in the battle back then. However, now that this was not his real body, Du Xiaofu found it hard to accept. Could it be that such a domineering character had really fallen? I have died long ago, and it is impossible for me to be reborn. Everything is predestined, Junior. Do not force yourself to do anything. Now, if you have anything you want to ask, quickly ask. Heavenly Lord Absolute looked at Du Xiaofu and said softly. The expression on his face was very calm, and he did not seem to mind at all when talking about his death. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu could not help but feel disappointed. After a long time, he collected his emotions and asked respectfully, Senior, why do you say that this world is called absolute heaven? Since Heavenly Premier Absolute had brought this up, Du Xiaofu naturally had to get to the bottom of it. He was very curious and wanted to know the answer. This world was created by me. My name is Heavenly Lord Absolute, and this world is called Absolute Heaven by others. Exalted Heavenly Exalted Absolute said. This time, Du Xiaofu was stunned on the spot, and he could not speak for a long time. Divine Martial World was called Absolute Heaven. That was fine, but this world was actually created by Heavenly Lord Absolute? Didn't Divine Martial World belong to the 33 heavens like countless other small worlds, and were all created by Great God Pangu? Du Xiaofu was deeply shocked. This fact had long been recognized by everyone, but today's words had completely overturned his previous understanding. Little guy, why are you so shocked? Heavenly Lord Absolute's tall and majestic body took a few steps forward and continued, if I let you come and ask, I don't know how long you'll have to wait. Since that's the case, let me tell you about this matter. He laughed softly, as if he found Du Xiaofu's expression very funny. Senior, please tell me. This junior is all ears. Du Xiaofu bowed respectfully and said, I won't talk about the matters before the primal chaos. I'll start from when I created this world. Heavenly Lord Absolute nodded and continued, at that time, Pangu had already created Pangu World. It was like the sun in the sky, and it was extremely prosperous. Almost at the same time, the world created by Rahu was also extremely glorious, and the living beings were flourishing. It was a grand occasion that shocked the world. Rahu? Du Xiaofu listened carefully, wanting to hear Heavenly Lord Absolute finish, but he could not help but interrupt when he heard the name Rahu. This was another name that he had never heard of before. Yes, Rahu. Later generations called him the demon ancestor. Heavenly Lord Absolute nodded and explained. Du Xiaofu was relieved. So, the demon ancestor's name was Rahu. As for him, he had opened up a world of his own. Could it be the 18 levels of hell that he was in now? After saying that, Heavenly Lord Absolute ignored Du Xiaofu and continued. Before the primal chaos was created, Rahu loved to kill. Therefore, he formed an old grudge with Pangu that could not be erased. When he and Pangu created their own worlds at almost the same time and gave birth to countless living beings, the two of them recovered the endless energy they had used to create their own worlds. Then, a war broke out between them. Du Xiaofu listened. He had heard of this matter and knew the general cause of the ancient demonic war. This was an old grudge that could not be avoided. However, Rahu was known for his slaughter. He fought Pangu with his own strength, and it was impossible to determine the victor. Because of this, Rahu led the countless living beings under his command and launched a bloody attack on Pangu world. Because of this, a war broke out between the two worlds. At that time, I was in the process of creating this world. The world had just been born and its strength was almost exhausted. Rahu knew that it was extremely difficult to defeat Pangu completely. The living beings of Pangu world never retreated and fought with all their strength. Thus, he set his sights on my world, wanting to seize the great overarching heaven while I was weak. However, Luo Ho was wrong about one thing. He thought that I would give up this world in order to protect myself. He didn't expect that the world I created would fall into his hands. How could the creatures born in this world become his killing tools? Speaking of this, Heavenly Lord Absolute once again revealed a terrifying aura. It shook violently and rushed over, making it difficult for Du Xiaofu to breathe. At the same time, Du Xiaofu was extremely shocked. Only now did he know that when great god Pangu, demon ancestor Rahu, and Heavenly Lord Absolute opened their worlds, they had consumed a lot of their strength. In addition, in order to defeat great god Pangu, Rahu wanted to seize this world and turn the living beings in it into his killing puppets. However, Heavenly Lord Absolute was not an ordinary person. He would never compromise for this. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at Heavenly Lord Absolute in shock. Although he had already guessed what Heavenly Lord Absolute was going to say, he still could not help but want to hear it with his own ears. Pangu and Rahu's worlds were involved in the bloody battle. No living beings could avoid it. Although some clowns appeared in Pangu world, it did not change the will of most living beings to fight Rahu's demon clan to the death. It was a huge disaster. The number of living beings killed and injured was immeasurable and innumerable. When Rahu set his sights on Daluo heaven, what reason did I have to avoid this battle? If Rahu wanted Daluo heaven, I would give it to him. Therefore, I would rather let this world, which only had time to give birth to an embryonic form, be killed and this place turned into a tomb, just to bury Rahu here. I have completely dispersed all the forces in this world, reconstructed it, and created new order and rules. I have turned it into an unprecedentedly large formation that has trapped the entire Pangu realm. All the devils who enter the Pangu realm will face my wrath. In the end, under the joint efforts of Pangu and I, this world successfully buried Rahu's body. His primordial spirit was also separated and suppressed by Pangu, making it difficult for him to transcend. However, Rahu's strength was indeed very strong. It was impossible to truly kill him. After this battle, my own strength was completely exhausted, almost to the point where it could not be recovered. The battle between the worlds only came to an end at this time. In Daluo heaven, which had undergone great changes, there were still some living beings who survived. I dissolved my chaos origin and nourished this world, hoping to leave a pure land for these living beings so that they would not completely wither away. At the same time, I looked forward to the emergence of someone who could surpass us and reconstruct Daluo heaven. My efforts were not in vain. Heavenly Lord Daluo said a lot in one breath. Sometimes he was emotional, sometimes he was slightly emotional. However, his words were always calm, as if he was talking about an ordinary matter. However, these words had a completely different feeling in Du Xiaofu's ears. I see. Daluo heaven, so this is what divine martial world is like. It was impossible for Du Xiaofu to remain calm. All of a sudden, many thoughts appeared in his mind. The original Daluo heaven probably had hopes of growing into an existence like the 33 heavens. It was prosperous, glorious, and full of life. However, in order to deal with demon ancestor Rahu, Heavenly Lord Daluo had no choice but to disperse all the rules and order of this world and reconstruct it, turning this world into a rarely seen large formation. Chapter 2887. Du Xiaofu could imagine that not only was the embryonic world's power scattered, but exalted celestial absolute himself had also consumed a great deal of energy. And it was precisely because of this that exalted heaven's energy source was cut off, losing the ability to continue growing. The laws and order between heaven and earth were destroyed and reconstructed, forming a great array that covered the entire 33 heavens. In the end, it retracted and suppressed the devil ancestor's body here. Later, exalted celestial absolute could not bear to see the world he created turn into a wasteland. He could not bear to see the last of the living beings perish, so he used the last of his strength to disperse his chaos origin power and nourish the severely damaged exalted heaven. It was because of this that the divine martial world was created, the 3 continents Kyushu realm, countless living beings, and Du Xiaofu himself. It could be said that everything in the divine martial world was a gift from exalted celestial absolute. He was the one who created this world, and also the savior of all living beings in this world. Divine martial world. Exalted heaven. Was it the so-called divine wilderness heaven Conqueror? Suddenly, such a thought emerged in Du Xiaofu's mind. Back then, in the Yuqing divine country's primal chaos space, he fought with the disciples of the 7 divine generals' estates. Those people had a terrifying array called the divine wilderness heaven Conqueror, but it was later snatched by Du Xiaofu and destroyed by the Qian Su Jinghua heaven's beasts. At that time, Elder Kong had once told him that the divine desolate heaven lock formation was merely a replica. The real divine wilderness heaven Conqueror had once appeared in the ancient demon war. It covered the entire 33 heavens, driving countless demons to a corner and killing them. With the existence of the divine wilderness heaven Conqueror, who knew how many battles were avoided, how many lives were saved in the 33 heavens, and even the destruction of the 33 heavens worlds. According to what exalted celestial absolute said, after the exalted heaven was transformed, wasn't it the divine wilderness heaven Conqueror? No wonder Elder Kong said that the divine wilderness heaven Conqueror carried by the 7 divine generals' estates and the absolute spirit holy lands could not even be considered a replica. It was just a stolen name. How arrogant! Du Xiaofu could not imagine how powerful the divine wilderness heaven Conqueror that evolved from the exalted heaven in the ancient demon war was. The divine martial world suppression power is probably because of it. Du Xiaofu muttered as he thought. The suppression of this world's the worlds of this world's world. Even the devils, Senior Lu, Dragon God, and Dragon God Dragon and the others. Even their cultivation, they were unable couldn't display the strength they should, that was of gods. God of Lu, S of Xiao Lu. His to do his and the that to Lu, to his, to the devil to God to devil's devil, demon God that was the devil should devil, to heaven, is that devil to's devil to heavens to heaven, realms devil should have been heaven. Now that he thought about it, there seemed to be a reasonable explanation for all of this. Exalted celestial absolute, who could open up a world, must have stood at the peak of the 9 great realms. He condensed the entire world and all of his strength to set up a great array. Naturally, it was terrifying. One must know that in the ancient era, the demon ancestor's body was suppressed here. He was a powerhouse of the emptiness realm who opened up his own world. Although Senior Lu Xiaofu's cultivation was exceedingly high and had transcended beyond the great Tao, under the control of a powerhouse of the emptiness realm, he couldn't escape the terrifying shackles. After coming to the divine martial world, he had to follow the rules here. And all of this was to suppress the demon ancestor. Only an extremely strong suppressive force could trap it. Senior Exalted Celestial Absolute, since the exalted heaven has been transformed by you and lost the ability to continue growing, why has this world become stronger in the past few hundred years? It's almost the size of the 33 heavens. It's almost the size of a world in the Pangu world. Du Xiaofu had new doubts, so he respectfully asked the middle-aged man in front of him. Back then, after he controlled the heavenly Tao and left the divine martial world, this world began to undergo great changes again and again. Now, whether it was in terms of scale or spiritual energy, the divine martial world was not inferior to any of the 33 heavens' great worlds. And this was what Du Xiaofu had always been puzzled about, which made him feel that this world had a hidden secret. Hearing Du Xiaofu's question, Exalted Celestial Absolute smiled and said indifferently, "Since you're able to come here, it must have been countless years since the battle back then. And now, I can't feel the existence of Rahu's body. I'm afraid he's already escaped." As Exalted Celestial Absolute spoke, his tone unconsciously carried a sense of seriousness. However, he didn't sigh because of this and continued, "Because I refined the great overarching heaven into a great formation, the entire world shrank. However, it was nourished by my primal chaos quintessence, so it glowed with vitality again. And after Rahu's body escaped, the remaining energy no longer needed to suppress him. Naturally, it could continue to nourish the entire world, making it stronger and stronger. Little guy, I can see that you've controlled the laws of this world, which means you've controlled this great array. So, everything here is closely related to you, and there's a connection. So, every time you break through to a higher level, you'll imperceptibly resonate with the order of exalted heaven, causing all these changes." As Exalted Celestial Absolute spoke, he looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled faintly at him, a gratified look in his eyes. It was this young man who had changed exalted heaven, changed the world that he could not abandon until his death. "Senior, I understand now." Du Xiaofu nodded and said softly. Exalted Celestial Absolute's explanation made him understand the cause of all this. It turned out that the changes in divine martial world were indeed closely related to him. "Little guy, you're very good. I hope that in your hands, exalted heaven can be restored to the embryonic form of a world in the past. Even more, it can be rebuilt after being broken, reaching new heights." Exalted Celestial Absolute looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile, his eyes filled with anticipation. But when these words fell into Du Xiaofu's ears, he was very surprised. The current divine martial world had not been restored to its peak state in the ancient times, and could not even compare to the embryonic form of a world in the beginning? This was hard for him to imagine. If that was the case, exalted heaven would have evolved into a magnificent world if it had not suffered such a drastic change. As if he saw through Du Xiaofu's doubts, Exalted Celestial Absolute couldn't help but say, "A world is far more powerful and magnificent than you can imagine. Take Pangu world for example. It was originally a complete world, but in the battle with Rahu, it fell apart. Most of the fragments of Pangu world were turned into dust or turned into a land of death, never to return to life. Only a small portion of the fragments are left. How is this possible?" Du Xiaofu's eyes were wide open, and he was so stunned that he could not speak. He was horrified as if he had heard the voice of the heavens. So there was such a story in the 33 heavens. That place was originally a complete world, but in the great battle, it was broken into pieces. This caused Du Xiaofu to feel extremely terrified. That battle during the primeval times was actually terrifying to such an extent. The battle between a few Avatar realm experts was ferocious to the extreme, and even a large world was damaged. He couldn't help but recall the desolate region of stars that he'd entered when he pursued Eastern Flame Crimson Phoenix and Qin Yen in the Fiend God battlefield. Perhaps the stars there were a part of Pangu dimension all those years ago. In that vast star field, only a place called Earth had life. This made him sigh. Senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had once said that Earth was a special place. Du Xiaofu had vaguely guessed that it might be related to the great god Pangu. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but ask, Senior Exalted Celestial Absolute, are you really unable to revive? Could it be that the great god Pangu has also fallen? As he spoke, Du Xiaofu looked at Exalted Celestial Absolute without moving. He stared into his eyes, wanting to hear an answer. If Exalted Celestial Absolute and the great god Pangu could revive, then it would be much easier to deal with demon ancestor Rahu. You little brat. Exalted Celestial Absolute suddenly rolled his eyes at Du Xiaofu and said with a smile, I've already said it before. When I established Exalted Heaven, I was in an extremely weak state. Later, I sacrificed myself to refine this world and fought with Ra. I exhausted myself to the extreme. In the end, the remaining primal chaos source was completely dissolved and scattered throughout the world to nourish this world. The me you see now is only a wisp of an illusion left behind in the past. It's not real. He patiently explained to Du Xiaofu that he had really fallen and couldn't be revived. Hearing this confirmation again made Du Xiaofu feel endlessly disappointed. An expert who walked out of the primal chaos had met such an end. It was impossible not to sigh with sorrow. Demon ancestor Rahu was truly terrifying. From this, one could foresee that if Jiangchen broke through the 18 layers of hell and merged with the demon ancestors' primordial spirits, it would mean that Rahu had returned. At that time, with his strength, he would bring about an unimaginable disaster. It would be countless times more terrifying than Du Xiaofu had expected. Could the current 33 heavens withstand such a bloody baptism? Exalted Celestial Absolute ignored Du Xiaofu's emotional changes and continued to answer his previous question. I'm already dead. This fact can't be changed. Exalted Heaven will be yours from now on. However, Pangu should be fine. After all, he had already recovered his strength when he fought with Rao. He won't die so easily. In my opinion, he should be in a deep sleep right now. At the same time, he should be suppressing Rahu's primordial spirit. The great god Pangu isn't dead? Exalted Celestial Absolute's words finally eased Du Xiaofu's heavy heart. Regardless of whether the great god Pangu could return in time to fight the demon ancestor, this was good news for Du Xiaofu. Although Pangu isn't dead, I'm afraid he won't be able to help you much. Perhaps his resurrection will require you to provide him with an opportunity. Now that Rahu has escaped, the bloodbath will begin again. This time, everything will be left to you juniors. Exalted Celestial Absolute looked at Du Xiaofu and suddenly became serious again. He earnestly exhorted, he has an immortal body and is extremely difficult to deal with. You must be careful. I can see that your talent is extraordinary. Even in Pangu realm, when the heavens and earth were first created, few could reach this level. In order to prevent the countless creatures in Pangu realm and exalted heaven from dying tragically, the first thing you must do is to improve yourself and break through to a higher realm. Exalted Celestial Absolute's eyes shone brightly. Now that he had fallen, Pangu couldn't participate in the upcoming battle. This was an unimaginable test of life and death for countless creatures after countless years. Du Xiaofu couldn't calm down when he heard Exalted Celestial Absolute's words. With his current strength, or the strength of senior brother Lu Xiaoyu, Dragon God, and the others, they were still far from the demon ancestor Rahu at his peak. Senior brother's cultivation was at the Tao-bearing realm, while the demon ancestor had walked out of the chaos and opened up his own world. He must have had the cultivation of an avatar realm. These two were not on the same level at all. If they really fought, the outcome seemed to have been decided long ago. Senior brother has his own arrangements. Perhaps he has the means to fight against the demon ancestor. This was the only thing that made Du Xiaofu feel relieved. Moreover, senior brother didn't just want to suppress the demon ancestor, he wanted to kill him completely. Although Du Xiaofu didn't understand where his confidence came from, he was willing to believe in such a possibility from the bottom of his heart. Little fellow, you don't have to worry too much. At this time, Exalted Celestial Absolute spoke again. Countless years have passed in this world. I'm sure other experts have been born. And to deal with Rahu, one doesn't necessarily need to be at the Avatar realm who walked out of the chaos. In fact, the Tao-bearing realm and the Avatar realm are only one step away. The gap between the two isn't difficult to cross. As long as you break through the void Tao and transcend heaven and earth, it won't be easy for Rahu to kill you. Is that so? Du Xiaofu couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard that. Senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had said this to him before. He said that the Tao-bearing realm and the Avatar realm were only one step apart, but there was also a huge gap between them. Could it be that the biggest gap was whether one could open up heaven and earth and use it to fight, and not in one's own strength? Du Xiaofu felt that such a guess was highly possible. If that was the case, as long as he progressed steadily and reached the Tao-bearing realm, he would barely have the qualifications to fight against the demon ancestor Rahu. I've told you everything that needs to be told. I reckon that Rahu still needs a lot of time to recover. Little guy, you don't have to think too much. Just cultivate seriously. And in this space, I've left something for you that can help you a little. Exalted Celestial Absolute comforted Du Xiaofu. Then he gently raised his arm, and a palm-sized mass of chaos light appeared in his palm. This mass of chaos light was very strange. It was different from the state of chaos that Du Xiaofu had seen before. It emitted a gentle and gorgeous light that kept flowing. Just by looking at it quietly, Du Xiaofu could feel that his soul seemed to have sublimated a little, and his spirit was 100 times more energetic. What's this? He couldn't help but lick his lips, as if he coveted this mass of chaos light. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit throbbed and trembled slightly. He instinctively felt that this was definitely not an ordinary thing. It was extremely terrifying and was a unique existence in this world. This is my primordial chaos origin. Exalted Celestial Absolute looked at him and said, "Now that there's only a little left, I'll give it to you. With this thing, you can go further in exalted heaven. It will also help your strength to a certain extent. As long as you refine it, the Tao vessel body won't be out of your reach." Primordial Chaos Origin. Du Xiaofu was stunned. He naturally knew what it was. The immortal realm pursued the origin of laws. The meditative realm explored the origin of great Tao. After achieving the Tao vessel body, one would break free from the shackles of heaven and earth and begin to condense their own primordial chaos origin. The reason why great god Pangu, Exalted Celestial Absolute, demon ancestor Rahu and the others were able to open up their own worlds was that they came from the chaos and possessed a complete primordial chaos origin. This was another type of difference between experts at the Tao vessel realm and the Avatar realm. At this moment, Exalted Celestial Absolute actually took out a mass of primordial chaos origin and gave it to him. Du Xiaofu couldn't believe it. This was a great benefit. Moreover, if he refined it, he would be able to obtain a certain amount of primordial chaos origin and achieve the Tao vessel body. This made Du Xiaofu wild with joy. With such benefits, he wouldn't have to worry about the Tao vessel body before the demon ancestor completely recovered. Little guy, I'll give this to you. But you must remember one thing. Exalted Celestial Absolute suddenly looked at Du Xiaofu with an extremely solemn expression and said. Du Xiaofu's expression turned serious and he said respectfully, "Senior, please say it. This junior will definitely remember it in his heart and dare not forget it." He pricked up his ears, wanting to hear what Exalted Celestial Absolute had to say. Everyone walks on different Taos. You can use this primordial chaos origin to break through the Tao vessel body. But during this period, this thing is only a support. You need to seek your own great Tao and condense your own primordial chaos origin. After you successfully break through the Tao vessel realm, you must abandon my primordial chaos origin and accumulate things that belong to you step by step. Only then will you have hope of reaching the strongest place. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Exalted Celestial Absolute said, his dignified and overbearing brows tightly knitted as he spoke word by word. Hearing such a profound lecture, Du Xiaofu also nodded his head with an incomparably serious expression. He knew what Exalted Celestial Absolute meant. Exalted Celestial Absolute didn't want him to be shackled by him. Exalted Celestial Absolute wanted him to obtain his own primordial chaos origin and reach the peak. Otherwise, the Tao Bearer realm might be his limit. This junior understands. Please rest assured, senior. Du Xiaofu bowed respectfully again. This was the respect he should have for such a predecessor. At the same time, he also heard another layer of meaning from Exalted Celestial Absolute's words. That was, the strongest faceless realm wasn't something that could only be achieved by living beings from the primordial chaos. Chapter 2888. Du Xiaofu understood that Heavenly Master Absolute did not wish for him to be bound by him. This mass of primal chaos origin could be used to refine and enhance his cultivation, but he could not fall into a rut because of it and ruin his broader future. After thinking it through, Du Xiaofu could not help but feel a little excited. It seemed that primal chaos creatures were not the only ones who could reach the faceless realm. He, senior brother Lu Xiaoyu, and the others might also have a chance to break through and open their own world like Great God Pangu and Heavenly Master Absolute. You're worth teaching. Heavenly Master Absolute glanced at Du Xiaofu with gratification and nodded. He then said, there are two little guys outside. They should have come with you, right? As soon as his words fell, the void distorted and a scene appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. It was a huge primal chaos light egg. It released a hazy light and carried a strange power that kept circulating. Through the primal chaos light egg, Du Xiaofu saw two familiar figures wrapped in it. They were Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing. Senior Heavenly Master Absolute, what happened to them? Du Xiaofu immediately became nervous and asked urgently. He saw that Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing were in a deep sleep. Their eyes were closed and they looked as peaceful as two babies. They were covered by the primal chaos force. Rays of light flowed from the two of them, and there was also a mysterious power that entered their bodies. Du Xiaofu could not help but feel anxious when he saw Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing in such a state. He had originally asked the two to wait outside the light door. Who would have thought that such an unforeseen event would occur? You don't have to worry. They're fine. Heavenly Master Absolute smiled and waved his hand. He said to Du Xiaofu, since they were brought here by fate, I can't let these two little guys return empty-handed. I can feel that they are also very extraordinary and have amazing talent. If they were at the beginning of the world, they would have had a great chance to see through the Tao. Heavenly Premier Absolute kept nodding, seemingly very satisfied with Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing. Hearing these words, Du Xiaofu also let out a long sigh of relief, and his heart was at ease. He was delighted as well. After all, Little Xingxing and Little Demon Du were able to obtain a terrifying fortuitous encounter here, and it was extremely beneficial to the two of them. Unfortunately, Little Yao and Little Xingxing have broken through to the immortal realm, but they haven't grasped all four primordial laws. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to worry about being unable to reach the Tao. Du Xiaofu sighed again. Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing had obtained the inheritance of the primordial phoenix in Burial Void Mountain. Their cultivation had improved greatly. Moreover, Du Xiaoyao had grasped 2 primordial laws and Little Xingxing had grasped 3. Their talent was absolutely worthy of the words, earth-shattering, in today's 33 heavens. However, Du Xiaofu knew that without grasping all 4 primordial laws, it wouldn't be too difficult for them to step into the meditative realm. However, it would be impossible for them to step into the Tao carrier realm. It was also because of this that Du Xiaofu felt extremely regretful. However, after thinking about it, he felt relieved. In this era, it was already impossible to step into the Dao Carrier realm. Apart from his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu, he had never seen a second person with the Dao Carrier realm. Little guy, you're wrong. Heavenly Premier Absolute suddenly opened his mouth. He looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens for a postnatal creature to stand shoulder to shoulder with a chaotic creature. The 4 primordial laws you mentioned can indeed give you a chance to step into the Dao Carrier realm, just like the few Xiantian creatures in Pangu realm at the beginning of the world. However, this isn't absolute. If the conditions are right, like those 2 little guys outside, they might have a chance. Of course, the conditions required are extremely difficult to achieve." Du Xiaofu couldn't help feeling shocked at Heavenly Venerate Absolute's words. Could it be that there was some method in this world that could allow Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and other people who had reached the immortal realm to once again gather the 4 primordial laws? This was almost unimaginable. Perhaps it was just as Heavenly Premier Absolute had said. The conditions required were extremely harsh and nearly impossible to achieve. "Senior, please enlighten me." Du Xiaofu immediately bowed respectfully and asked Heavenly Premier Absolute. He wanted to know what the conditions were. It wasn't just useful for Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing, but also for the Desolate Nation, Yuqing Divine Nation, and many others. Whether it succeeded or not, they could still give it a try. "If I knew you were so eager, I wouldn't have mentioned this to you." Heavenly Premier Absolute glared at Du Xiaofu, but he immediately restrained himself and said, "If you can reach my level one day, you will naturally know everything. It's useless to tell you now." "The evanescent realm," Du Xiaofu murmured. He was a little stunned. He didn't dare to imagine this realm because senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had once said that all those who could reach the evanescent realm were fiend gods who had walked out of the chaos. There had never been such an existence among the postnatal creatures. Whether he could reach the same height as senior brother was still a question, let alone the evanescent realm. There are no shortcuts on the path of cultivation. Everything you can get is based on your own efforts. Therefore, no matter where you can go in the end, you must persevere on this path to the end. I don't believe that there is a threshold in this world that I, Du Xiaofu, can't cross. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's heart was filled with an unyielding will as he thought to himself. Over the years, he had encountered too many difficulties along the way. However, even if it was extremely difficult and dangerous, he still managed to charge through and reach this step. Therefore, he believed that as long as he worked hard enough, even if it was the evanescent realm, it wasn't impossible for him to reach it. "Good boy, your will is enough to make me feel gratified. I'm very relieved to hand Daluotian to you." Heavenly Premier Absolute looked at Du Xiaofu and suddenly laughed heartily. After a long time, he stopped laughing and said, "All right, I can't delay any longer. The wisp of illusion I left behind, although it still has some power, it's about to be used up. Take this primal chaos origin and refine it. Just remember my words. It won't be a waste of my efforts." At the end, Heavenly Premier Absolute's figure actually began to blur. "Senior." Du Xiaofu hurriedly took a step forward and actually felt somewhat sad in his heart. "Don't say anything. Everything in this world is predestined. Nothing can be forced. Meeting is fate. To be able to have a junior like you take over Daluotian, I'm very comforted." Heavenly Premier Absolute waved his hand. That primal chaos light cluster in his palm flew out with a humming sound, directly arriving in front of Du Xiaofu. Then, with a swoosh, it directly tunneled into his body. In an instant, Du Xiaofu only felt his entire body go numb, as if he was electrocuted. A hazy light coiled around outside his body, lingering endlessly, releasing a mysterious color. Du Xiaofu's eyes unconsciously closed, then stood straight in the void just like that, entering a mysterious state, turning a deaf ear to everything in the outside world. "Boy, Daluotian is relying on you. All the living beings in this world will be under your protection. Luoho is extremely frightening. I hope you can withstand the pressure and not disappoint me." Staring at Du Xiaofu, Heavenly Premier Absolute muttered, his eyes filled with eagerness. His figure slowly faded, like a blob of ink, dissolving in the boundless water. That majestic and domineering face was dissolving, and that tall and sturdy body was collapsing. In just a few breaths of time, it completely collapsed, and along with his voice, it disappeared from this space, never to be seen again. Soon, only Du Xiaofu was left in this void space. His body stood, wrapped in primal chaos light cluster. Within his body, a vast and violent energy was circulating endlessly, refining the primal chaos origin. However, with Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, even with all his strength, the primal chaos origin did not seem to be consumed in the slightest. From this, one could see how vast the energy it carried was. This state continued. Time passed silently, but Du Xiaofu did not feel it at all. The aura on his body fluctuated, as vast as the sea, as deep as the abyss, and had a mysterious color. On the other side, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were also in an indescribable state. They were sleeping in the primal chaos light cluster. Whether it was their physical bodies or souls, they were undergoing the cleansing of the primal chaos force, becoming more and more tenacious and stable. Their strength was also increasing crazily. This kind of growth was not just a simple increase in cultivation, but a kind of metamorphosis. Under the effect of the primal chaos force, they were constantly being baptized. Their physical bodies and souls were being tempered again and again, becoming cleaner and purer. One could only imagine how powerful the two of them would be once they broke out of their cocoons. No one knew what was happening in this space. In Shenwu world, in the Huang country, Du Tingxian, Du Xiaojing, Du Yunlong, Yi Piaoling, and the others all knew where Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xingxing went. However, in the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed, and there was no news from the three of them. Though everyone was anxious, they did not show it on their faces. This was because before Du Xiaofu left, he had already made a long-term plan. He said that he did not know when he would return. On the other hand, Du Tingxian, Du Xiaojing, and the others all knew that Du Xiaofu had a subtle connection with this world. If something happened to him, perhaps the entire Shenwu world would change at the same time. However, in these 10 years, there were no big changes, so everyone was relatively at ease. If the world of Shenwu was peaceful like a peach garden, then the faraway 33 heavens were a sea of turbulent clouds. Even the slightest sound could be heard. Ever since the blood ancestors' reappearance in the Yinqiong uncorroded heaven, all the creatures in the world became nervous. Many meditative forgetfulness experts came out of seclusion one after another, all of them paying close attention to the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. This was because there were countless beasts there. The blood ancestor also went to this world to rest and recuperate. A shadow loomed over the heads of all the creatures in the 33 heavens. No one was not afraid. After all, that was a great evil from the ancient era. His slaughter shook the world. Trillions of creatures trembled at the mere mention of his name. It could be foreseen that in the 33 heavens, a bloody massacre could erupt at any time. Just like in the ancient era, the sky would be scarlet and the creatures would be plunged into misery and suffering. But in this tense situation, an even more terrifying event occurred. Like a hurricane, it swept through all the worlds of the 33 heavens, bringing fear to the hearts of countless living beings. There's movement in the 18 layers of hell. A powerhouse has come out. It seems to be a demon. The 33 heavens is going to be chaotic. It can no longer remain peaceful. This news caused countless living beings to feel panic and unease. It was as if they could see an endless amount of blood before their eyes, and the shadow of death loomed over them. What did the demon race represent? Everyone knew in their hearts. Countless legends had been passed down from the ancient era. Although they were not detailed, it was enough to describe the terror of the demon race. The ancient demon war was a terrible massacre that almost overturned the entire 33 heavens. Who knew how many people died? Some powerful forces who knew more secrets knew very well that at that time, the 33 heavens didn't exist. There was only a complete Panga realm. However, in the demon war, the entire world was shattered into countless pieces. Only then did the 33 heavens and countless small worlds of today appear. From this, One could imagine how terrifying and fierce the massacre was back then. Now, the demon race was on the move again. How could people not be shocked? There's an entrance in the Fiend God battlefield near the Supreme Chang Rong Heaven. It leads to the 18 layers of hell. Many creatures knew about this situation. Many forces in the various worlds had arranged for experts to stand guard near the Supreme Chang Rong Heaven. The moment they discovered a demon, they would immediately kill it. They would not allow a single demon to enter the 33 heavens and bring disaster to the world. The disciples of the 50 Holy Lands and 72 Divine Kingdoms that were originally training in the Fiend God battlefield had all gathered at the Gate of Hell to guard it. The Gate of Hell had now become a gateway. It was the place where the creatures of the 33 heavens and the demon race clashed. I'm afraid that the demon race will come out en masse. At that time, this battlefield left from the ancient era will be flooded with a sea of blood that soars into the sky. An expert sighed as he swept his gaze across the Fiend God battlefield. This was originally a battlefield from the ancient era. The traces of the war could still be seen. The ground was soaked in blood. Even after so many years, it was still scarlet black. Due to the corrosion of time, this space had become extraordinarily terrifying. To ordinary experts, it was a dangerous place. Anyone below the God-seizing realm would not be able to withstand the terrifying bloody aura. If the demon race came out en masse from the 18 layers of hell, the Fiend God battlefield would be filled with slaughter again. The scarlet-black soil would turn scarlet-red again. Xiaofu, that brat, has left the Supreme Chang Rong Heaven for quite some time. I wonder why he hasn't returned yet. Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San, Zi Hong Divine General He Mengchang, Martial Emperor Divine General Hua Yuankuan, and Cloud Spirit Divine General Duan Baichuan were among the crowd. Apart from them, Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Lu Ying, Long Ke, and Long Su, who were stationed in the Yuqing Divine Kingdom, were also here. They had not made a move yet. They were only here to observe the situation and prevent any major changes at any time. We don't need to care about Martial Uncle Du's matter. Father has been in contact with him, and many things are being arranged. Although the current changes are a little frightening, they are still under control. Lu Jingyun looked at Chu Daoju and said softly, I also heard that Xiao Yu has made arrangements. However, no matter what, I don't dare to take the demon race lightly. Chu Daoju sighed and said with emotion, currently, the demons that have appeared are not particularly strong. The true experts are still behind. The demon ancestor himself and the 2 demon attendants are extremely frightening. Once they appear, it means that the war has truly begun. Lu Yushao stepped forward and said, not only the demon ancestor himself and the 2 demon attendants, I heard from Father that there are many demon generals suppressed here. Every demon general is extremely frightening, and their strength is above the 2 demon attendants. Long Ke suddenly said with some worry. Many people were stunned when they heard this. They only knew of the existence of the demon ancestor and the 2 demon attendants, but they had never heard of the many demon generals. At this time, knowing that the demon generals were even stronger than the 2 demon attendants, many people were even more worried. Don't worry, the 3,000 boundless worlds have already received the news. The Lu family, Flying Spirit sect, Cloudy Sun sect, for Great Beast Emperor clans, various royal families and so on have all made the necessary preparations. There will be experts rushing to the 33 heavens. This time, not only is it a calamity for the 33 heavens, it is also a test for the 3,000 boundless worlds. Lu Jingyun said as he looked at the people around him. In the ancient era, the 3,000 boundless worlds did not exist, so naturally, it had nothing to do with the terrifying demon war. And now, the demon race had appeared once again. If the 3,000 boundless worlds were to stand by and watch, the result would be terrible. Once the situation was bad, not only the 33 heavens, but even the 3,000 boundless worlds would suffer a calamity. Therefore, Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Lu Ying, Lu Cheng, Long Ke, Long Su, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San and the rest stayed here to deal with the appearance of the demon race. As for Lu Xiaoyu and the Dragon God, they had participated in this matter many years ago. They had hunted down the demon god and made the necessary preparations for the demon ancestors' revival. It was precisely because of this that the group of young meditative experts from the Lu and Long families were more confident than the others. Let's just do our own thing. Father and Uncle Xiaolong will arrange everything. Chapter 2889. Among everyone, the ones who were calm were Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Lu Ying and the rest of the 11 siblings. As the children of the master of the 3,000 great worlds, they knew more than ordinary people and were more aware of their father's strength. As for the arrangements made by Lu Xiaoyu, although Lu Jingyun and the rest did not know the details, they had a corresponding understanding. Let's hope that Xiaoyu can show up and give us some clear pointers. We're getting anxious just by waiting like this. Chu Daoju sighed slightly and said, the supreme expert had arranged everything, but they were all kept in the dark and could only be anxious. The experts from the 3,000 great worlds had better arrive soon. I keep feeling that since the devil race has already appeared, they will not delay for too long. I'm afraid that before long, there will be even greater movements. And if the 18 levels of hell all go berserk, I'm afraid that the manpower of the 33 heavens will be somewhat stretched. You have to know that the Qian Su Jinghua heaven has already had a blood ancestor return. There are also a large number of beast race experts there. None of them are easy to deal with. Long Sen also said with deep worry. Hearing this, the people beside him all nodded in agreement. What everyone was most worried about was actually not the countless beast race experts in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, but the blood ancestor who had broken out of the seal in the Yin Qiongwu heaven's burial space mountain. He was the enemy that all living beings feared the most. Even if the blood ancestor had been suppressed for countless years and no longer had the ferocity of the ancient times, the power that could erupt from him was definitely enough to make many seated forgetfulness experts tremble in fear. The power of all living beings in the 33 heavens would not be able to do anything to him. The vessel realm was unfathomable. Therefore, at present, if the experts from the 3,000 great worlds could arrive at the 33 heavens a little earlier, then it would be much easier to deal with them. The blood ancestor. If the current him were to face Uncle Lu, could there still be any chance of him surviving? Behind Lu Jingyun, Long Ke suddenly spoke and said, in the distant space, it was an expanse of desolation and desolation. Countless stars floated in the distance, and all of them were in ruins without any signs of life. It was like a deathly silent graveyard that was desolate, icy cold, and dark. And it was precisely in this desolation that there existed a light blue world. There were actually living creatures living within, releasing rare traces of life. This was the place where Lu Xiaoyu had once brought Du Xiaofu to, a world called Earth. In this world, there were strange things that even the 33 heavens and countless other small worlds would never see. Tall houses towered into the skies, winding roads like giant dragons. Rainbow-hued lights flashed in the night, illuminating the dark night, gorgeous and colorful. On the bustling streets, metal shells whizzed to and fro on the ground like flowing water. Large groups of people were bustling with activity, and it was extraordinarily lively. Among the countless people, there were two young men walking side by side and chatting with each other. The contents of the conversation between the two of them could not be heard by anyone else other than themselves. Boss, we've already stayed here for a long time, but you still don't seem to want to leave. Among the young men, a man wearing a golden gown opened his mouth and said to the man beside him. He was also wearing the clothes of this world, and the corners of his mouth carried a trace of a playful smile. My soul was born in this world, so I naturally can't forget everything here. But the most important thing is that as my cultivation grows deeper, I feel that this place might be able to bring me an opportunity to break through. It's just that, after searching for many years, I still can't figure out any clues. Beside the golden-clothed young man, a green-clothed man did not pay attention to the words of the kid beside him, and only spoke to himself. His gaze swept across every corner of this world, as if he could see through all the essence of this world, deep and vast. However, only he knew that no matter how he searched, he was unable to find any deeper traces, causing him to inevitably sigh in his heart. The golden-clothed young man and the green-clothed man were naturally Xiaolong and Lu Xiaoyu, who came from the 3,000 sectors. One was called the Dragon God by all living beings, and the other was the master of the 3,000 sectors. Their identities were extremely shocking. This world is special, but if even you can't see through it, then I'm afraid it's very difficult for anyone in this world to see through it. Xiaolong was silent for a moment, thought for a moment, and said such a sentence. He had come to this world with his boss many years ago, so he was even more clear about the uniqueness of this world. However, although he was extremely talented, he could not catch up and was still a hair's breadth away from his boss's realm. Therefore, Xiaolong naturally couldn't tell what was so strange about this world. But in his opinion, if there was a mystery in this world that even his boss could not solve, then it must be shocking. Probably because the opportunity hasn't come yet. Lu Xiaoyu said again, but his tone was indifferent. When one's cultivation reached his level, they no longer simply pursued certain things. Instead, they focused more on cultivating their heart and mind. They were skilled at tracing back to their roots and comprehending a different path that belonged to them. Boss, if you can't do anything about it, then there's no need for me to say anything. Xiaolong curled his lips and turned to Lu Xiaoyu. That's right, boss. There has been some movement in the 18 layers of hell. The powerhouses of the demon race have already broken free from the shackles of the seal and rushed into the 33 heavens. How do you plan to deal with this? Do you want to continue waiting? Xiaolong stared at Lu Xiaoyu, wanting to hear his answer. Not only were the people of the 33 heavens concerned about this matter, but even he, the dragon god, also attached great importance to this matter. Every action of the demon ancestor and the demon race involved the life and death of trillions of lives, as well as the stability of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 sectors. There is no need to be too anxious for the time being. The demon ancestor is still breaking the seal of the 18 layers of hell. The day he truly enters the 18 layers of hell will be the day we truly reveal our methods. I am looking forward to seeing what kind of expression he will have at that time. As Lu Xiaoyu spoke, the corners of his mouth suddenly curled into an evil smile. His usual indifferent appearance was completely different. It was as if he had transformed into a naughty child. Our methods will naturally give the fiend ancestor a huge shock. However, if we want to truly kill him, we will have to depend on that boy Du Xiaofu. Only he can solve this problem. Xiaolong was speechless. When he thought of the methods his boss had laid down, he couldn't help but gloat. He felt a little sad for the demon ancestor. However, there was also an unerasable worry in his heart. If Du Xiaofu failed to live up to expectations, then everything they had done would have been in vain. Whether or not the demon ancestor could be completely killed would depend on that boy's ability. As for the people of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 sectors, we don't need to worry too much about them. No matter how they deal with it, let them do as they please. Lu Xiaoyu slowly walked through the crowd and said softly, however, according to my estimation, those people won't be able to hold back for too long. They will cause a huge commotion. Especially my junior brother Du. It's a good thing he returned to Shenwu world. If he was in the 33 heavens, he would definitely be the one to cause trouble. The smile on his face grew wider and wider. Thinking about his junior brother Du Xiaofu, Lu Xiaoyu felt like he was seeing himself in the past. He feared nothing and dared to cause trouble. The demon race wanted to wash the 33 heavens with blood. That boy definitely wouldn't sit still and watch the demon race grow stronger and stronger. I feel like it's better for him to be in Shenwu world. The huge secrets there will be discovered by him. His strength will definitely increase greatly. When he comes to the 33 heavens, it will be really fun to cause trouble. Xiaolong chuckled, making people feel like they could hear the sound of dirty water flowing away. Lu Xiaoyu naturally felt that what he said made sense. He had seen the extraordinariness of Shenwu world and knew a lot about the situation there. Just like what Xiaolong said, when his junior brother returned, he might be able to obtain a terrifying opportunity. There was no doubt that his strength would increase greatly from then on. The Void Path realm. If he continued to grow stronger, he would really be able to enter the top ranks of the 33 heavens. If that was the case, once Du Xiaofu returned to the 33 heavens, he would definitely cause even more trouble. I'll say the same thing again. Let them cause trouble. Now is not the time for us to show ourselves. Actually, I also want to see what my junior brother will do. Lu Xiaoyu nodded and said aloud. He had always paid close attention to Du Xiaofu and placed all his hopes on him. Although the current situation was a bit grim, it was still under his control. He didn't have to worry about any big changes happening for a while. Therefore, he wouldn't forcefully interfere with what Du Xiaofu and the beings of the 33 heavens did. When the time came, he would naturally make a move. Boss, now that the 18 layers of hell are being unsealed layer by layer, can you take advantage of this opportunity to comprehend more things in this world and reach the peak again? Xiaolong suddenly raised his eyebrows and stared intently at Lu Xiaoyu as he asked hopefully. You're right. I do want to take advantage of this rare opportunity to peek into a deeper self. But this step seems very close, but it's also extremely far away. I don't know if I can succeed. Lu Xiaoyu lowered his head slightly. After thinking for a moment, he said, but it doesn't matter. Let's solve the matter of the demon race first, then talk about this. There's no hurry. Xiaolong nodded deeply when he heard this, then suddenly raised his eyes and looked at Lu Xiaoyu. Boss, I believe you can do it. There was a strange look in his eyes as he spoke with certainty, as if he had endless confidence. He was even more confident than Lu Xiaoyu himself. You brat. Suddenly, Lu Xiaoyu's palm swung out and slapped the back of Xiaolong's head. Boss, you hit me again. Xiaolong stared at Lu Xiaoyu with dissatisfaction written all over his face. In any case, he was now an existence that could shake the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds with a stomp of his foot. But he was still being treated like a child. This was simply intolerable. However, facing Xiaolong's strong protest, Lu Xiaoyu only smiled and looked straight at him. He didn't feel that there was anything wrong with such a look. After being glared at by Xiaolong for a long time, Lu Xiaoyu didn't pay much attention to it. After a while, he withdrew his gaze and said softly, Your strength has also been stuck at this step for a long time. I hope you can make a breakthrough soon. I will work hard. Hearing Lu Xiaoyu's words, Xiaolong's face was no longer filled with anger. Instead, he nodded seriously and said, Shenwu world. Time passed unknowingly. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. During this time, many people's strength was rapidly increasing. For example, Du Tingxian, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaojing, Zhen Qingchun, Yi Piaoling, Chang Guyu, Jialo Jueyu, and others. They were originally in the early stage of truth-severing stage, but they quickly rose to the middle stage of truth-severing stage. This kind of improvement was very shocking. If it was a large-scale increase in strength, it would be very rare to see in the 33 heavens. Apart from this matter, everyone noticed that the scale of this world was also undergoing subtle changes day by day. Although these changes weren't as drastic as before, they were still happening. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth was becoming denser and denser. Countless living beings were cultivating with twice the result with half the effort. Endless joy filled everyone's heart. This kind of change was something that everyone was happy to see. Apart from these events, there was something else that shocked everyone in the Shenwu world. The experts of the 9 great families brought a terrifying piece of news to this world. It was about the birth of the demon race in the 33 heavens. News of what had happened in the distant world had finally reached this world. Xiaofu, Xiao Yao, Little Xingxing, and the others still haven't returned. I don't know how they are right now. A large number of experts gathered in the desolate country's Great Hall. Almost all of them were peak existences in the entire Shenwu world. Du Tingxian stood at the head of the group, frowning as he spoke. Although 100 years wasn't a long time for cultivators, how could Du Tingxian not be worried at all when there was no news of those 3 for so long? The birth of the demon race is very important. Fortunately, the experts of the 33 heavens have already begun to deal with it. We don't have to worry about the flames of war spreading to Shenwu world so quickly. To put it bluntly, with our world's current strength, it's not even enough to fill the gaps between the demon race's teeth. Zhen Qingchuan's sudden words were indeed unpleasant to the ears, But after everyone heard it, they all fell silent. It was a tacit agreement. Indeed, although the current Shenwu world was developing rapidly, and large numbers of experts were emerging like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. However, when compared to the 33 heavens, it was still not enough. Shenwu world's foundation was too weak. The suppression of the world had existed for countless years, making it difficult for this world to catch up to the outside world in a short period of time. However, all of them were confident that as long as they were given enough time, surpassing the 33 heavens wouldn't be too far-fetched a dream. I wonder how Xiaofu and the others are doing. I wonder if there's any progress in finding the great secret of this world. Du Yunlong muttered softly. Everyone only knew that Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Xingxing had gone to the Beast Region's Divine Thunder Mountain range to find the greatest secret of this world. However, 100 years had passed, and there was no news at all. This made everyone worried. Fortunately, this world had always been thriving. This also meant that Du Xiaofu's situation wouldn't be too bad. After all, the entire Shenwu world had a secret connection with him. The demon race has appeared. Shouldn't our world make a move? If the lips die, the teeth will feel cold. If the door is broken, the hull will be in danger. Although our strength isn't very strong, we can't be content with being in a corner. On the side, Jialo Juiyu's eyes suddenly shone with a bright golden light. They were like the eyes of a god, like two suns, illuminating the world. His entire body exuded a domineering aura. He was like a god standing there, shaking the world with his might. That's right. In the 33 heavens, there are many people we know. We can't just stand there and watch. We have to do something. Zhen Qingchun nodded, showing that he agreed with Jialo Juiyu's words. Around them, many powerhouses also nodded in agreement. There were no cowards in this world. They had all survived the slaughter of the devil religion. Even the terrifying demon race couldn't scare them out of their wits. This old man feels that now is not the time for us to make a move. Just as many people were exuding a murderous aura and were about to make a move, Jialo Badian suddenly spoke up. His aged yet firm and powerful figure slowly took a step forward with one hand behind his back. His gaze swept past all the experts present as he said, "Our world is still growing rapidly, and this is a rare opportunity for the living beings within it to improve themselves. Although the demon race is rampant, they haven't reached the point where they can do whatever they want. They don't need us shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Therefore, this old man believes that what we need to do the most right now is to work hard to improve our strength. When the war truly breaks out, we won't be a burden to the 33 heavens." His words were resolute and reasonable. After hearing this, all the powerhouses present fell into deep thought. No one spoke for a long time. Senior is right. I agree with this method. Even if we really want to enter the 33 heavens in advance, we should wait for Brother Xiaofu to return before making a decision. While everyone was silent, the general of Tianwu Academy spoke up. We, the 18 celestial generals, are on standby. As long as the Rock Emperor gives the order, we will immediately head to the 33 heavens to fight the demon race. Before the others could express their opinions, Yi Piaoling suddenly spoke up. This sentence caused the atmosphere in the main hall to become even more tense. Chapter 2890. Just like Yi Piaoling, Chang Guyu, and Yi Cha, Duo Sha, Ying Yan, and the other 17 of the 18 divine guards all exuded a ferocious qi. Overbearing and arrogant, their murderous intent filled the entire palace. Without a doubt, these 18 people were the most fearless group of people in Shenwu world. No matter how ferocious and powerful the devil race was, it was not enough to make the 18 heavenly generals retreat. If they needed to fight, they would rush to the 33 heavens without hesitation, or even the 18 levels of hell to kill the demons. Inside the Huang country's palace, no one spoke for a long time. Many people were just like these 18 people. They were filled with an unyielding spirit. It was as if they had returned to hundreds of years ago, to the days when they fought against the devil religion. That was a glorious past that was engraved in everyone's heart. Other than the threat of death, It was also accompanied by an endless amount of blood that boiled endlessly. Therefore, at this moment, all the powerhouses from Shenwu world were inexplicably excited. After so many years of peace, they once again experienced that feeling of excitement. The palace was eerily quiet. This feeling persisted and pervaded everyone. However, at a certain moment, a sudden and terrifying explosion instantly broke this strange atmosphere. Boom! This explosion was earth-shattering, and the sound waves swept in all directions. It was as if a terrifying god had suddenly slammed his palm into Shenwu world, turning the entire world upside down. What happened? The sudden noise caused all the experts in the desolate nation's great hall to shudder and come back to their senses. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Silhouettes after silhouettes rushed out of the palace and flew into the sky to observe their surroundings. At the same time, they spread out their primordial spirits as far as they could to investigate in detail. It was under this observation that everyone realized that everywhere in Shenwu world, it was as if doomsday had arrived. The blue sky was falling, the thick earth was shaking, the seawater was rising, and the wind was blowing in all directions. The terrifying storm danced around the entire Shenwu world, destroying everything in its path. The tall mountains were uprooted from the ground and tossed into the 9 heavens like toys. The roaring rivers were swept away and evaporated in an instant. Everywhere in the world, space began to wrinkle and collapse. Cracks were everywhere, as if it was being crushed by a powerful force. This terrifying scene made everyone's heart tremble. It was as if the end of the world was coming. However, in the sky above the desolate nation's imperial palace, the group of experts were not worried at all when they saw this scene. Instead, they were all stunned on the spot with expressions of wild joy on their faces. Everywhere in Shenwu world, all the living beings in the air, when they saw what was happening, they almost all were celebrating. It's coming! It's coming again! The world is changing our world. Great, this is our world can our world. Spiritual chi. I can feel the spiritual energy surging and enveloping me. This feeling is too carefree. The space is space world our world, and is our world. The suppressive force seems to have decreased again. The upper limit of cultivation for living beings has increased again. Oh my God, what is this world going to become? Even the 33 skies aren't much better than this. Cheers of joy and exclamations of shock could be heard from every corner of Shenwu world. All the living beings were so excited that they felt like they were floating. This was not the first time they had experienced something like this. In the past hundreds of years, it had happened many times. Every time it happened, it would bring great benefits to the world, and all the living beings would benefit immensely. Nobody would have thought that on this day, something like this would happen again. How could the countless people in Shenwu world not be overjoyed? Waves of spiritual energy seemed to be released from some unknown place, filling every inch of space. It made people feel refreshed and their cultivation base faintly rose. The world's space was expanding as well. The world's territory was becoming boundless. The suppressive force continued to decrease and weaken. The school of agriculture, the school of Moism, the school of Yin-Yang, the school of Taoism, the school of Confucianism, and the other 9 great families all came from the 33 skies. They could feel it even more clearly. In comparison, Shenwu world's current size had already surpassed any world in the 33 heavens. As for that terrifying spiritual energy, it was even denser than the 33 heavens. One could imagine that given enough time, this world would give birth to many incomparably powerful people. Their cultivation levels would reach the heavens and the earth, and they would be able to travel unhindered. They might even surpass the 33 skies. It had to be said that this was something that no one could imagine. No one could say for sure what Shenwu world would become and what level it would reach if this terrifying change were to happen a few more times. Xiaofu, something must have happened on Xiaofu's side. In the air above the stone city, Zhen Qingxuan's gaze swept out. It was as if his gaze could pierce through the boundless void to reach the beast region. He saw Du Xiaofu's current state. Xiaofu's cultivation is increasing again. I wonder what level he'll reach with this breakthrough. Du Yunlong muttered to himself. His eyes were cold and his aura was oppressive. Everyone knew that every time Shenwu world changed, it happened when Du Xiaofu's cultivation broke through. The current chaotic state of the world must be related to this. Everyone was incomparably happy. The stronger Du Xiaofu was, the happier everyone was to see. At the same time, the benefits they would obtain would also be greater. I'm afraid we'll never be able to catch up to his footsteps. Jialo Jueyu suddenly spoke up from the crowd. He couldn't help but smack his lips. Many other experts were overjoyed when they heard that. However, they also smiled bitterly. Du Xiaofu's growth was too terrifying. In less than 1,000 years, he had traversed a path that countless beings in the 33 skies would never be able to complete in their entire lives. There was no need to mention the immortal realm experts. Even the meditative oblivion experts couldn't compare to him. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was in the illusory path realm, which only appeared in the ancient era. If he broke through again, his competence would surpass the 9th sky of immortal realm experts. He just needed one more step and he could be compared to the meditative oblivion experts. I don't know how long this transformation will last. Same old rules. Those who want to break through, go and cultivate. The stronger our world is, the more power we can use to deal with the demon clan in the future. Du Tingxian suppressed his emotions. He didn't turn around, just looking at the distance as he spoke to the others. Everyone nodded their heads. Many of them even said a few words of greeting before they rushed out and quickly disappeared to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. The transformation of heaven and earth brought great benefits. Some experts who were stuck at the bottleneck felt that they could break through soon. A higher realm was waving at them. This world isn't ordinary at all. I hope Xiaofu can find the hidden secret in this trip. Old Yao Yi Wuming stroked his beard and said emotionally. Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. Just as Shenwu world was undergoing a huge change, no one outside the world noticed that at the edge of Shenwu world's spatial barrier, thick veins that looked like blood vessels were crawling all over the place. These patterns looked like a net that covered the outside of the world barrier. However, as the entire world expanded, space overturned, the ground sank, and the sky collapsed. This boundless giant net trembled crazily, and its luster became dimmer and dimmer. Flows of invisible energy were moving, dispersing into the crack between the worlds. The world was expanding furiously as if it wanted to burst the net. Sure enough, at a certain moment, a thick and solid vein collapsed soundlessly. Then the second one, the third one, the fourth one, countless patterns broke one after another. In the end, millions of patterns broke in just a blink of an eye. When this scene ended, all the runes that wrapped around the world barrier broke apart, and all the light faded away. Rumble. In just a short moment, the divine martial world seemed to have broken free from some invisible shackles, and began to expand again. This time, the unique aura of this world surged out, spreading into the crack between the worlds. It was extremely terrifying. If Du Xiaofu saw this scene from outside the divine martial world, he would instantly realize that this world was completely exposed to the outside world. Originally, it was very difficult for experts from the outside world to find the location of the divine martial world. When Du Xiaofu returned from Changrong Heaven, if he didn't rely on his secret connection with this world, he probably wouldn't have been able to find it. But now, it was different. As long as he came to the edge of the divine martial world, he would be able to clearly feel the aura emitted from it, and could easily enter. The experts of the other worlds no longer need to be led by Lu Xiaoyu, the master of the 3,000 great worlds, or follow Du Xiaofu and the other two like the 3 dead beasts in the Qiansu Jinghua heaven in the Qiansu realm to find this world. It could be said that the current divine martial world was completely connected to the 33 heavens. As long as experts from the outside world found this place, and were willing to come to this world, it was no different from going to any other world. Of course, Du Xiaofu didn't know any of this. At this moment, he was still in the void, trying his best to refine the chaos origin. Near him, a ball of chaotic light was like a giant eggshell, emitting a beautiful light. Crack, crack. After an unknown amount of time, the light egg made a cracking sound. Thin cracks spread out on the surface of the light egg, as if a bird was about to break out of its shell. Chapter 2891. Inside the Egg of Light, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing opened their eyes at the same time. Their gazes shot out as if they were solid, surging with a ferocious force that instantly struck the Egg of Light outside their bodies. Boom! The light egg exploded into pieces. Two shadows flew out of it and soared into the sky. Waves of dazzling light emitted from Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, making them look like two massive suns hanging in the sky, dazzling and dazzling. Phew! This place is really magical. The benefits we got this time are unimaginable. Du Xiaoyao lowered her eyes, feeling the changes in her body as she sighed. She and little Xingxing had been trapped inside the light egg for hundreds of years. The endless chaos energy had shrouded them and nurtured their bodies and primordial spirits unceasingly. When they got out, their cultivation bases had rocketed. Du Xiaoyao had entered third sky of Immortal Realm and little Xingxing had reached fourth sky of Immortal Realm directly. This kind of advancement was really shocking. It was a big leap for them. If they had cultivated step by step in the outside world, it would have taken them many years to reach this level. However, it wasn't the most important thing. Unknowingly, they had been nurtured by the chaos energy. The hidden energy in their bodies would become the solid foundation for them to become the peerless experts in the future. Little Xingxing didn't say anything. She gently swung her delicate hand. A dazzling light flashed. Clang! A long sword flew out and hovered in the air. Waves of sword cries erupted, causing the entire space to tremble. Waves of chaotic light flowed down from the sword, silently corroding everything. Chaos Sword Essence. Du Xiaoyao's eyelids twitched when she saw this. She was petrified. She couldn't help but take several steps backward. She was frightened by the power of the long sword. Although they were standing here, they could feel that this sword wasn't ordinary. The terrifying energy it released had suppressed the entire space. Although Du Xiaoyao was at third sky of Immortal Realm, she couldn't resist it. Fortunately, little Xingxing had clearly controlled the might of the sword. Moreover, there was something special about this space. Otherwise, just the ripples of power from the sword would have been enough to cause a boundless storm. The sword that Brother Jingyun gave me is really good stuff. Little Xingxing's beautiful eyes revealed a strange brilliance with a strong sense of excitement. It was the sword that Lu Jingyun had given him as a gift in the Inqiong Everlasting Heaven. Little Xingxing hadn't expected the sword to absorb a large amount of chaotic force during the hundreds of years it had been enveloped by the chaotic Egg of Light and had undergone a transformation. The Chaos Sword Essence was an existence that could grow into a Chaos Doctrine weapon. Besides the primeval treasures that the gods and demons who had created the world had, the Chaos Doctrine weapons were the strongest existences. Every Chaos Dao artifact contained the power of chaos. When it came down, even a macro world would be greatly affected. The power of the Great Dao would be affected, and the order of the laws would be disrupted. It could really suppress a world. In the 33 heavens, even if all the big forces joined hands, they wouldn't be able to find several Chaos Doctrine weapons. Good boy. The Chaos Sword Essence has finished its transformation? With this sword, I'm invincible in the Immortal Realm, right? Du Xiaoyao was speechless. She couldn't help but lick her lips and drool. With a Chaos Doctrine weapon, it was easy for an ordinary expert at the initial level of Immortal Realm to fight against an expert at 8th or 9th sky of Immortal Realm. This kind of treasure was too nature-defying. It could make up for the huge gap in cultivation base. Thus, Du Xiaoyao was envious. She was burning. I can feel that it hasn't reached the level of a Chaos Doctrine weapon. Strictly speaking, it should be a half-step Chaos Doctrine weapon. It's still far from the final level. Little Xingxing said. The Chaos Sword Essence that Lu Jingyun had given her didn't have an owner. With his help, Little Xingxing had refined it and controlled it completely. Little Xingxing could clearly sense the sword's condition. A half-step Chaos Doctrine weapon? Du Xiaoyao's eyes sparkled. She wasn't disappointed. A half-step chaos doctrine weapon was very intimidating. Although its power couldn't be compared to a real chaos doctrine weapon, it was still intimidating. In the hands of little Xingxing, an expert at the fourth sky of immortal realm who had mastered 3 primitive laws of heaven and earth, it would be a piece of cake for her to fight against a high-level immortal realm expert. Ha! Du Xiaoyao suddenly started laughing, and her eyes stared fixedly at little Xingxing as she said, "Little Xingxing, my niece, hee. Why don't you lend me this half-step Chaos Dao artifact to play with for a few days? I can help you nurture it, and it might suddenly become a true Chaos Dao artifact one day." As he spoke, he rubbed his hands together and walked to little Xingxing's side with a bashful smile on his face. "Get lost." Little Xingxing glanced at him and only said this one word. Then, she didn't care about Du Xiaoyao anymore. She put away the long sword in the air and started to observe the space again. "Dad hasn't come out yet. I wonder how he is now." Little Xingxing's beautiful eyes moved, looking worried. She wanted to find Du Xiaofu's trace. However, she was disappointed because she couldn't sense anything related to Du Xiaofu this time. "Boss should be fine. I can sense his presence." Hearing little Xingxing's words, Du Xiaoyao stopped smiling and said, "We don't need to rush. Let's find a way to leave this place first. Or, we can continue to explore. Perhaps we can find more opportunities. That would be better." This was a strange place. It was the most hidden place in the entire Shenwu world. Back then, it was the place where the demon ancestor's physical body was sealed. Du Xiaoyao felt that since they were here, they had to explore as much as they could. If they missed out on any great benefits, they would suffer a great loss. Little Xingxing didn't answer. She only nodded. Then, the two of them didn't waste any more time and started a new round of exploration. In another place in this area, Du Xiaofu was still in that mysterious state. His eyes were closed and his entire body was swirling with chaotic light. Inside his body, the power of the primal chaos origin was constantly being refined. However, even after several hundred years, the primal chaos origin still hadn't shrunk by much. One could imagine how terrifying the energy Du Xiaofu would gain if he refined all of it. This state continued. Du Xiaofu, who was in this state, had no concept of time. Before he knew it, another 300 years had passed. He didn't even realize it. Including the 200 years before that, it had been 500 years since Du Xiaofu entered this place. And it was also during this year that Du Xiaofu's body finally underwent a new change. Waves and waves of the origin of laws were like flowing water. They materialized and flowed out of his body. Large amounts of objects were forming around Du Xiaofu. They evolved into thousands of things that looked no different from the real world. At the same time, the origin of laws was emitting waves of violent Taoist rhymes. They intertwined into a terrifying amount of energy that caused the entire space to shake violently. This Taoist rhyme was extraordinary. Compared to the Taoist rhyme that Du Xiaofu produced before, this Taoist rhyme was many times thicker. As the Taoist rhyme flowed, there seemed to be an even more terrifying force vibrating. It was no different than the Taoist rhyme used when a powerhouse of meditative oblivion attacked. This was the power of the Taoist rhyme. Although it couldn't be compared to the first realm of meditative oblivion, it was still intimidating enough. If he could use this kind of power to fight, Du Xiaofu could absolutely resist the peak of ninth sky of immortal realm. He could even kill them. Boom, boom. Not long after these scenes appeared, the entire void space began to shake violently. The loud sound was like waves of thunder, rolling and rumbling. The terrifying lightning was like a giant dragon, tearing apart the void. All of a sudden, the void began to collapse on a large scale. It was as if a magnificent city wall was falling down. The momentum was terrifying. Swoosh, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Deep inside his pupils, the sun and moon were moving up and down. Heaven and earth were rotating. Time was surging and life was being born. Numerous strange scenes played out successively, causing it to seem like a god that had created the heavens and the earth, and it was mighty and mysterious. Only by reaching this level, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself, The void was like falling bricks, sweeping past Du Xiaofu. He sighed inwardly. After sensing carefully, he found that more than half of the primal chaos origin that Heavenly Master Absolute had given him hadn't been refined. It was still dormant. However, Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that he had undergone a terrifying transformation. Is this the power of the Taoist rhyme? He muttered softly and extended a finger. A hazy light rippled from the tip of his finger. The light was like a bean, but it contained the vigorous power of the Taoist rhyme. As the Taoist rhyme circulated, it produced an even more terrifying power. Du Xiaofu had seen some meditative oblivion powerhouses attack. He could feel the charm of the Taoist rhyme. The power he was releasing now contained the aura of the Taoist rhyme. He was incomparably happy. This breakthrough had allowed him to reach the second level of the realm of void Dao that senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had told him about, condensing law and tracing Dao. Literally, condensing law and tracing Dao was to condense the complete power of the Taoist rhyme and trace Dao. Du Xiaofu had grasped all the four great primitive laws. Since he was in the realm of void Dao, it was easier for him to reach this level compared to others. If it were an ordinary expert at the peak of ninth sky of immortal realm, even if he had grasped the complete power of the Taoist rhyme and trace Dao, he would have to put in a lot of effort to break through the meditative oblivion and condense the Taoist rhyme and trace Dao. Moreover, the chance of success was very small. It was also because of this that since ancient times, the 33 heavens had produced countless outstanding individuals. However, even after countless years of accumulation, only a few hundred meditative forgetfulness powerhouses had been born. It was undeniable that the meditative oblivion realm was a big trap. It had stopped many talented experts from advancing. If there's a chance, I should find someone to test my real strength. Du Xiaofu was looking forward to it. He wanted to rush to the 33 heavens and find some high-level immortal realm experts to battle. He wanted to measure his harvest this time. With this kind of capital, he felt that he didn't need to be afraid of any immortal realm experts. The only ones who could threaten him were the meditative oblivion experts. Senior Heavenly Master Absolute has passed away. All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu felt a little sad. He looked at the collapsing void and couldn't see the domineering figure from before. The illusion left by Heavenly Master Absolute had vanished. It didn't exist anymore. Heavenly Master Absolute had been affected by demon ancestor Rahu during the creation of the world. His vitality had been greatly damaged. In the end, to preserve the life of the divine martial world, he had scattered his chaos origin to nourish this world. Because of that, the divine martial world had been preserved. It was the grand occasion it had today. There should be no more secrets here. 500 years have passed in the blink of an eye. It's time to go back. I hope that the divine martial world can recover to the level of the absolute heavens. Du Xiaofu suppressed the sadness in his heart and thought. In order to find the greatest secret of this world, he had left the desolate country for 500 years. His family must be worried about him. With such a great harvest, Du Xiaofu decided to return as soon as possible. After that, he should go to the 33 heavens to take a look. He didn't know how the demon race was doing in the outside world. Other than that, as his cultivation continued to break through, the divine martial world could continue to grow and recover to its embryonic state from the ancient times. As for whether it could continue to grow and become a great world, Du Xiaofu didn't have absolute confidence. That kind of result would require him to break through to an even more terrifying level. Little Yao, little Xingxing is still waiting here? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu looked around and saw Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's figures. Amidst the fragments of space that filled the sky, the two of them were moving around in all directions, as if they were searching for something. Not long after that, they also found Du Xiaofu. They immediately dashed toward him. "Boss!" "Dead." Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing cheered, hurrying to Du Xiaofu. "Seems like your harvest isn't small. You've both broken through terrifyingly." Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a smile as he looked at the two people in front of him. After several hundred years, little Xingxing looked a little older. When he saw her in the Yinqiong Wu Kuei sky, she gave people a feeling of immaturity. But now, she had a mature charm. She could be considered a big girl now. What made Du Xiaofu happy the most was that Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's competence had increased tremendously. They had reached 4th sky of Immortal Realm and 5th sky of Immortal Realm, respectively. Previously, we had a fortuitous encounter. In the next 300 years, we improved and broke through again. Du Xiaoyao said with a smile. After they came out of the chaotic light egg, they hadn't been looking for Du Xiaofu all the time. Through continuous cultivation, the two of them had broken through quickly. Du Xiaofu naturally knew about the fortuitous encounter they had. Heavenly Master Daluo had already told him about it. Boss, what's your strength now? I find that I can't see through you anymore. Du Xiaoyao winked at Du Xiaofu and smacked his lips. Du Xiaofu gave him the feeling that he was a bottomless pool. He couldn't see the bottom, vast and deep. He knew that his talent and fortuitous encounter weren't much worse than Du Xiaofu's. However, as his cultivation base increased, the gap between the two of them widened. This was a blow to Du Xiaoyao. Uncle Little Monster, it looks like you can forget about winning back the boss's position in this lifetime. Little Xingxing chuckled as if he was taking pleasure in Du Xiaoyao's misfortune. It's fine if I don't want to. I've had a good life in this life. I don't want to have a next life. Du Xiaoyao spread his hands and shrugged. When he said this, he seemed a little cowardly. He didn't look like he was in the early years when he was completely convinced by Du Xiaofu. He was also sure that after so many years, he had suffered enough blows. Du Xiaoyao had long become numb and used to it. Dad, you disappeared for so long. Have you found the secret of this place? Little Xingxing turned his head and looked at Du Xiaofu. Upon hearing that, Du Xiaoyao also looked at him. His ears immediately perked up, wanting to hear what Du Xiaofu had to say. This space is about to collapse. It's not a place to talk. Let's talk about the details after we return. Du Xiaofu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said this. Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing both nodded. Then, the three of them rushed into the sky one after another. Like fish swimming in water, they quickly shuttled through the fragments of space that filled the sky. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Just as Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xingxing left the original beast region, Shenwu world had already undergone a tremendous change. The scale of this world, on the basis of the previous one, had doubled again. Majestic mountains stretched across the land, giant rivers surged and roared, vast lands spread out, and waves of spirit energy formed into water droplets. All of this was a testament to the terror of the current Shenwu world. Outside the world, the space barrier had been destroyed, causing Shenwu world's aura to explode. Not long after, living beings in the 33 heavens sensed the situation here. What is that place? Why is it so terrifying? It's a brand new world. It seems to be larger than any of the major worlds in the 33 heavens. It's too terrifying. How could such a world suddenly appear in this world? I've never heard of such a place. Quick, let's go check it out. Chapter 2892. Within the 33 heavens, many creatures discovered the situation in Shenwu world and were shocked. To everyone, this was a world that had suddenly appeared, a place that was even more terrifying than the 33 heavens. This made countless people want to go in and see what was going on. Not long after, a large number of experts set out, heading straight for Shenwu world. If it wasn't for the fact that more and more demons were coming out of the 18 levels of hell, requiring countless people to deal with them, it would have attracted even more experts to investigate. But even so, the number of people heading towards Shenwu world was still enormous. Within Shenwu world, Du Xiaofu brought little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao out of the void and discovered the even more terrifying changes in this world. But because they were mentally prepared, they weren't too shocked and only let out a series of praises. Du Xiaofu was even more so. He knew the origin of Shenwu world, and the current state of this world wasn't even close to the embryonic state of a world from the ancient era. This kind of change needs to happen a few more times in the future. Du Xiaofu sighed in his heart. He really hoped that Shenwu world could continue to prosper and bring endless benefits to the creatures of this world. Right now, this world's foundation was still too weak. Compared to the 33 heavens, it couldn't even withstand a single blow. It needed to give birth to more experts to make up for these problems. If a few meditative experts appeared in this world, perhaps it would be a bit safer. Du Xiaofu thought in his heart. If there were such existences watching over this world, they would be able to protect the growth of the other creatures of this world. That would definitely be a rare thing. But he was only thinking about it. Where could he find a meditative expert in this world? Originally, there were many factions in the 3 continents, Kyushu, and from ancient times until now, there had never been such an expert, except for the dean of Tianwu Academy. Dean, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself as he thought. The principal of Tianwu Academy was definitely an expert from the outside world. Du Xiaofu knew about this long ago. However, since he was the founder of a faction in the divine martial world, he could naturally be considered as one of the living beings here. Moreover, his cultivation had already reached the meditative oblivion realm. He had been sleeping in the desolate ancient space that Du Xiaofu carried with him for many years, and he was breaking through to the 3rd level of the meditative oblivion realm, gaze through reincarnation. If he could wake up, perhaps he could really become the strongest person in this world, overseeing a region. Just as Du Xiaofu was thinking about this problem, his consciousness subconsciously entered the desolate ancient space to check on the condition of Tianwu Academy's principal. With his current strength, he was no longer as blind as he was in the past. However, just as Du Xiaofu's consciousness entered the desolate ancient space, his heart suddenly jumped. The reason being that the ancient desolate space was completely empty. Apart from some cultivation resources, there was nothing else. The figure wrapped in light that had been lying in the ancient desolate space had disappeared without a trace. The principal of Tianwu Academy had disappeared without a trace. Principal, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be shocked. As the current owner of the ancient desolate space, that space was just like the divine martial world. Everything was under his control. However, one of the living people had disappeared without him noticing at all. This was extremely strange. Could it be that the principal has successfully broken through and left on his own? Du Xiaofu had such a thought, and it was extremely possible. The ancient desolate space was under the control of Du Xiaofu. It was impossible for an outsider to enter and take him away without him noticing. At the same time, that space had been refined by the dean in his early years, and the order of the laws within it was also under his control. If he had left after waking up, it would not have attracted Du Xiaofu's attention at all. This could also be explained. If Du Xiaofu's deduction was correct, it could only mean one thing. The principal had successfully broken through to the 3rd level of meditative realm, becoming the strongest existence in the 33 heavens. I wonder where the old man is right now. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at the void around him. He really wanted to see the principal, but he didn't know where to look. Boss, what's wrong? Seeing Du Xiaofu's dazed expression, Du Xiaoyao couldn't help but ask. It's nothing. Let's continue on our way. Du Xiaofu shook his head and didn't explain anything. He would explain everything to them when they returned to the desolate country. He didn't use the power of the world's laws and order. Otherwise, they would have returned to the desolate country in the blink of an eye. More experts have arrived in this world. Just as the 3 of them were hurrying on their way, Du Xiaofu's eyebrows twitched. He felt a strange fluctuation in the divine martial world. Quite a few powerful experts had arrived. They all fell into his perception. Could it be those beasts from the Qian Su Jinghua heaven again? Little Xingxing's beautiful eyes looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. The existence of the divine martial world was very secretive. It was very difficult to find this world from the cracks of the outside world. When they came back, the 3 meditative realm experts from the Qian Su Jinghua heaven followed them all the way and found this place. So, if the other experts from the Qian Su Jinghua heaven got the news of those 3 and came to the divine martial world, it was very possible. However, little Xingxing wasn't worried at all. In the divine martial world, there was no one who could be her father's match. By the side, the corners of Du Xiaoyao's mouth could not help but curl up into a sneer. No matter how many beast clan rankers came, they would only be delivering delicacies to them. It's not the beasts from the Qiansu Jinghua heaven. There are a lot of experts here. There are a lot of people we haven't met before. At this moment, Du Xiaofu said with a frown. He faintly felt that this world seemed to have been exposed to the outside world. That was why so many experts came to spy on it. I don't care who they are. As long as they don't come with good intentions, they can all stay in this world. Little Xingxing said slowly. His words were filled with strong killing intent. Let's go back to the desolate country first. Du Xiaofu nodded. Without any delay, he took Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing and left. Soon, they returned to the desolate country. After seeing Du Xiaofu and the other two return, Du Tingxian, Du Xiaojing, Du Yunlong, Zhen Qingchun, Jalobadian and the others were all very happy. They hurried to the main hall of the imperial palace to gather. Du Xiaofu simply explained some things to them. Then he rushed to the sky above the stone city, waiting for the experts from the outside world to come to this world. In the distant 33 heavens, it could be said that no place could be calm. This was because the Devil clan had become more and more rampant in recent years. A few hundred years ago, a small group of Devil clan members had broken into the Fiend God battle boundary and then entered the Supreme Chang Rong heaven. In the past few hundred years, this trend had become even greater, and even more Devil clan members had emerged. Fortunately, in the early years, the major forces of the 33 heavens had made the corresponding preparations. They had sent a large number of experts to guard the Hell's Gate in the Fiend God battlefield. Once they discovered Devil race people, they would directly kill them. This prevented the Devil race people from causing trouble in the 33 heavens. As more and more Devil race people rushed out of the 18 layers of hell, the major forces of the 33 heavens became more and more nervous. No one dared to underestimate this matter. No one dared to underestimate the Devil race. No one hoped that a huge massacre like the ancient times would reappear in the world. At the 18 layers of hell, in the boundless star field, there was only one world with life. It was a place called Earth. The lords of the 3,000 universes, Lu Xiaoyu and Xiaolong, were still here. They continued to travel to various places, as if they were two mortals traveling through the world of mortals. Boss, the Devil ancestors' movements are getting bigger and bigger. If we don't take action soon, there will be a mistake. If he escapes our control, it won't be a good thing. Xiaolong and Lu Xiaoyu walked side by side, frowning slightly as they spoke. The Devil ancestor was breaking the seal of the 18 layers of hell. Step by step, he was fusing with his separated and suppressed primordial spirit. Once he finished fusing and recovered his peak strength, it would be very difficult to stop him. This was also what Xiaolong was worried about. Let's not be anxious. He still needs time. Our arrangements also need to be carried out step by step. My junior brother's cultivation has advanced a step. I'm afraid he will start to cause trouble again. We don't need to worry about the specifics. Let's just watch him torment himself. I believe that guy will definitely have his own ideas. Lu Xiaoyu waved his hand lightly and said to Xiaolong. He was still the same as before. There was an indescribable indifference as if he always had a card up his sleeve. All right, since boss said so, we will listen to you. Xiaolong spread out his hands and said, 18 layers of hell, only the last few layers of seals are left. The remaining power of this star field is about to be used up. The methods left behind by great god Pangu can't stop the living Devil ancestor in the end. Lu Xiaoyu let out a sigh, then said, I hope my junior brother can cultivate faster. That way, he can face the Devil ancestor head-on sooner, and there will be more changes. That kid's cultivation speed is already abnormal enough. It has completely exceeded our expectations. We can't be too harsh on him. Xiaolong glanced at his boss Xiaoyu. When he mentioned Du Xiaofu, he seemed to feel that the kid was very similar to his boss. Du Xiaofu had only cultivated for a little over 1,000 years. If it was someone with extraordinary talent in the 33 heavens, they would probably only be at the true severing realm. But that guy had already reached the void path realm. Who knows how many geniuses he had surpassed? The secret of Shenwu world should have already been obtained by him. That world has been completely exposed to the outside world, and can be considered to be completely connected to the 33 heavens. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly said with a smile. He had already known about Shenwu world for a long time, and had been paying attention to it. He also knew about the recent changes. If we go there again, I'm afraid we won't be suppressed as much as before, right? Xiaolong's eyes flashed as he said. When they were chasing the devil god, they had been to Shenwu world. Because of the terrifying suppression, everyone's cultivation was severely limited, and they couldn't use their original strength. It was also because of this that the devil god chose that world to hide from the disaster. In the end, it was because of the Du family's ancestor, who was the heaven's path, that the devil god was suppressed. Thinking about that terrifying suppression, even a powerhouse like Xiaolong couldn't help but feel anxious. It definitely wasn't a good experience. If we want to completely remove the suppression of that world, it's still a bit off. If we go there now, we'll probably be able to use the cultivation of a meditative realm expert. In other words, those with the strength of a meditative realm expert won't be suppressed too much when they go to that world. Lu Xiaoyu said, the divine battle world is indeed an embryonic form of a world. The creator of that world, Lord Daluo, is indeed a powerful fiend god who walked out of the chaos. Even though he changed the order of the world, he was still able to produce such a terrifying power. It really makes me feel like I'm in the dust. Xiaolong suddenly sighed and shook his head. His cultivation, whether it was in the 3,000 boundless worlds or the 33 heavens, was already strong enough. Other than his boss, it was hard to find anyone stronger than him. Even so, when he thought about the chaos devil gods of the ancient era, Xiaolong couldn't help but sigh endlessly. They were the strongest existences in the world. Don't worry, Lu Xiaoyu smiled and looked at Xiaolong. That height, one day we'll be able to reach it too. Chaos devil gods are very powerful, but they also lived for countless years in the chaos to reach that level. Although we're postnatal life forms, there's no rule that says postnatal life forms are necessarily weaker than chaos life forms. Xiaolong was originally listening to Lu Xiaoyu's words seriously, but when he heard the last part, his eyes fiercely jumped. Boss, you mean? He looked at his boss in disbelief, and his entire body froze. Xiaolong understood the last part of Lu Xiaoyu's sentence. There's no rule that says postnatal life forms are necessarily weaker than chaos life forms. In the world, there were 3 types of life forms: chaos life forms, prenatal life forms, and postnatal life forms. Gods and devils that walked out of the chaos were naturally chaos life forms. When the world was first created, the life forms that were directly born from the world were prenatal life forms, such as the ancestral dragon, Yuan Feng, and first Qilin of the 33 heavens. Postnatal life forms were the natural reproduction of life forms, the natural evolution after the order of the world stabilized. To everyone's knowledge, postnatal life forms were the weakest. Because they lacked the most advantageous conditions, it was naturally impossible for them to reach the heights of prenatal life forms. As for chaos life forms, they were able to open up a world, evolve the great Tao, create the world, and give birth to prenatal life forms. They naturally reigned above all, the strongest existences. But Lu Xiaoyu's words meant that postnatal life forms had a chance to transcend and stand shoulder to shoulder with prenatal life forms, or even reach the heights of chaos life forms. Xiaolong found this somewhat inconceivable. Such a thought could be said to go against the subordinate relationship of the great Tao. But these words came from his boss's mouth, so he had no choice but to believe them. Xiaolong had always believed that given enough time, his boss would surpass everyone and become the first postnatal life form comparable to chaos life forms. But in Xiaolong's heart, this was only limited to his boss. Everyone else, including himself, would have no hope. Let's prepare to leave. The demon ancestors' rampage in the 18 layers of hell has caused the power here to change as well. There's going to be a great disturbance in this star field. Lu Xiaoyu didn't say much about the previous question, instead changing the subject. The life forms in this world are the ones who are truly blessed. Xiaolong's gaze swept across the world. He could clearly sense every corner of this world. He then said, under the protection of the great god Pangu, Although everyone here is mortal, there are no bloody disputes like other worlds. It can be considered to be detached from the world. However, it would be great if the humans here could cause less trouble. As he spoke, he pursed his lips as if he wasn't particularly satisfied with some things in this world. Lu Xiaoyu smiled when he heard this and said, "This realm will undergo a transformation, and it won't take long. Let's get ready to go. It's time to meet the demon ancestor and those demons head-on." Xiaolong turned his head and looked up at the sky as he said aloud. Lu Xiaoyu nodded and said, "But before that, I'm afraid we'll have to fight with another person first." As he spoke, a bright light shot out from his eyes. Endless illusions evolved in them. One could see the sun and moon rising together, time and space rotating, the great world rising and falling, and all things vanishing. "Let's go!" Xiaolong shouted softly. Then, together with Lu Xiaoyu, their bodies slowly faded away. Suddenly, they disappeared from their original spot as if they'd never appeared. Their departure didn't cause the slightest change in the world of Earth. However, outside this realm, there was an invisible and majestic mysterious power emanating from it. It was as if this small Earth was the center of the entire starfield universe. Endless power surged out from it like a torrential river, connecting all the stars together and creating mysterious trajectories. Under the revolving power of the countless stars, all of them converged into the 18 layers of hell, forming a powerful seal that turned the entire hell into a prison, firmly trapping the countless demons. However, over the years, ever since Jiangchen entered the 18 layers of hell, the power provided by all the stars constantly changed, causing the power of the seal to become weaker and weaker. This caused the entire desolate starfield to change. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu and Xiaolong had always been aware of these changes. They saw everything with their own eyes. They knew that the binding power of Earth was unraveling. Chapter 2893. Du Xiaofu returned to the desolate country. Just as he had sensed, a large number of powerful cultivators from the outside world had entered Shenwu world. Fortunately, there were some familiar faces among them. For example, the powerful cultivators from the various sacred grounds and divine nations of the transcendent harmony heaven. It was because of these people's arrival that a large-scale war had not broken out and caused the powerful cultivators from the outside world to attack Shenwu world. Of course, there were also many powerful cultivators who were tempted by the terror of this world. They wanted to take over a piece of land, or even take over the territories of other forces to develop their own forces. However, under Du Xiaofu's intimidation, no one dared to act rashly. The arrival of these powerful cultivators did not cause much of a ruckus, but everyone was shocked by the extreme terror of this world. At the same time, they brought news to Shenwu world. It was about the demon race leaving the 18 levels of hell and attempting to enter the 33 skies. Things have already developed to this point? Du Xiaofu frowned when he heard the news from a powerful cultivator from the startling star holy ground. When he returned to Shenwu world, he wanted to bring some powerful cultivators into the 33 skies. It would not take too much time. However, in order to find the secrets of this world, more than 500 years had passed. This was not a short period of time. It was enough time for many things to happen. The demon race would naturally act accordingly. "Dad, let's return to the 33 skies. Little Ba, little Lin, little Huang, little Shuang, and the others are still in Yuqing Divine Nation." Little Xingxing walked up and said to Du Xiaofu. The three of them had taken Lu Jingyun, Lu Yuxiao, and Lu Ying as their masters. There should not be any problems. However, the entrance to the Fiend God battle realm was too close to the supreme Changrong heaven. If the Fiend God race walked out from there, that realm would definitely be the first to bear the brunt of their attacks. Little Xingxing was still worried about this. "Of course we have to go back. Let's prepare and leave." Du Xiaofu pondered for a moment and said. Then he looked at Du Tingxian, Du Xiaojing, Du Yunlong, Zhen Qingchun, Jialo Jueyu, and the others and said, "Shenwu world has undergone tremendous changes, and everyone's strength is still not enough. If we rashly go to the 33 heavens and fight with the demons, it will be very dangerous." Since that was the case, he might as well stay here and cultivate wholeheartedly. When I need help in the future, I will send a message back. He didn't feel at ease letting the powerhouses of Shinwu World go with him to the 33 heavens, so his previous plan had been ruined. After all, the demon race was too powerful. If they directly participated in the battle, these people would be no different from throwing their lives away. They would not be able to play a decisive role. Rather than that, it would be better to let everyone stay in this realm and use the unique conditions here to step into a higher realm as soon as possible. I'll do as you say. I reckon that if the demons want to make a large-scale move, it will take some time. Just nice, we can use this time to increase our strength a little more, and at the end, we will be able to contribute our strength. Du Tingxian nodded and said to Du Xiaofu. The powerhouses of Shinwu World had already made a plan. The current Shinwu World did not have the strength to fight against the demons. All right, then we will set out immediately. Du Xiaofu nodded. Then he scanned his surroundings and took in the many experts who had come from the outside world. He was still a little worried. This realm was exposed to the outside world's powerhouses. If an immortal realm powerhouse or even a meditative realm powerhouse came and had any ill intentions, the people of Shinwu World would not be able to stop them. Du Xiaofu felt troubled. The safest way was for him to stay here. No matter what kind of powerhouse came, they would have to crawl. But he had to go to Transcendent Changrong Sky. His senior brother Lu Xiao had said that the key to killing the demon ancestor was him. He could not drop the ball at this time. So, Du Xiaofu felt troubled. He could not ignore the safety of his friends and family, but he could not ignore the demons. He was in a dilemma. Little Yao, little Xingxing, why don't you two stay in Shinwu World? I will go to Transcendent Changrong Sky alone. Du Xiaofu thought for a while and could only make this decision. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao's strength were extraordinary now. With them in Shinwu World, they would be of great help. This was a temporary solution. It was not perfect, but overall, it was a solution. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao heard this and fell silent. In their hearts, they were more willing to fight against the demons with Du Xiaofu. But the living beings of this realm needed them. If they had to choose, they would naturally choose the latter. So, the two of them pondered for a while and were about to nod in agreement. But right at this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly rang out, landing in everyone's ears. Ah, young man, go to the 33 skies. With me here, I don't think many people would dare to cause trouble here. After this laugh, a tall elder appeared from the void. He stood in midair and landed in front of Du Xiaofu and the others. This elder's figure was majestic and tall. He carried with him an aura that could lift up the sky. His eyes were as bright as the sun. His silver hair fluttered without wind. He carried with him an ancient aura. But no matter what, it could not conceal his natural aggressiveness and dominance. This elder walked up to Du Xiaofu and smiled at him as if he was looking at an old friend. However, Du Xiaofu was a little confused. He had never seen this old man before, so he didn't know who he was. Young man, why are you looking at me like that? The old man was still smiling as he teased, my appearance has made you so excited that you can't even speak? The elder's gaze was soft, as if he was looking at his own descendant. His eyes were shining with love. Du Xiaofu was even more confused now. He had never seen this elder before. He couldn't help but to bow and ask, I wonder if you, towards this elder who appeared out of nowhere, he couldn't see through him and didn't know his cultivation level. However, since he dared to say that he was guarding Shinwu World, he naturally couldn't be very powerful. With Du Xiaofu's capabilities today, if he couldn't see through this person's cultivation level, it was enough to see how terrifying this person was. It was very likely that he was an existence of the meditative realm. A powerhouse like this had no ill intentions towards him. Du Xiaofu was more than happy to treat him with respect. Seeing Du Xiaofu's actions, the elder laughed heartily. He suddenly asked, young man, are you used to my desolate ancient space? He stroked his beard and narrowed his eyes as he stared at Du Xiaofu. Desolate ancient space. Du Xiaofu was taken aback and his entire body froze on the spot. Wasn't the owner of the desolate ancient space the principal of Tianwu Academy? He had also noticed that the figure shrouded in light had disappeared from the desolate ancient space. He had no idea where the principal had gone. Who would have thought that the principal would appear before him at this moment? This made Du Xiaofu extremely shocked. Junior Du Xiaofu pays respect to senior principal. Du Xiaofu was extremely agitated as he hurriedly bowed. It turned out that this elder was the principal of Tianwu Academy. This was a terrifying existence. Back then, his master, Yu Qian, had seen the dormant principal and said that the latter had broken through from the second level of meditative oblivion to the third level of samsara gazing through reincarnation. His appearance here could only mean one thing. He was in existence at the third level of meditative oblivion. In the entire 33 heavens, there were only a handful of people who possessed the same level of cultivation as the principal. You may dispense with the formalities. Young man, you're not bad. I can be considered to be fated with you to be able to make the desolate ancient space acknowledge you as its master. The elder from Tianwu Academy waved his hands and chuckled. He looked at Du Xiaofu and nodded his head repeatedly. He seemed to be extremely satisfied with this young man. General, Ghost Child, Gu Xinyan. Du Xiaofu didn't have time to say anything to the principal. He immediately beckoned to the experts of Tianwu Academy and summoned them to his side. In an instant, Guo Xiaofeng, Tang Wu, Dong Li Diao, Lin Weiqi, Wu Kei, Bai Mingfeng, Li Yuxiao, and the others gathered around Zhang Xian. Under Du Xiaofu's signal, the most outstanding disciples of Tianwu Academy, such as Ting Mo, Zhang Yishan, Huang Xiaofeng, Yu Yu, and the others, also gathered around him and the principal. Everyone looked at Du Xiaofu in confusion, unable to comprehend his intentions. Even though everyone was in awe of this elder and could faintly sense how terrifying he was, they didn't know his identity. This is the founder of Tianwu Academy, senior principal. Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu explained to the general, Ghost Child, Yu Xinyan, and the others. Upon hearing those words, the experts of Tianwu Academy were dumbfounded. Tianwu Academy had a long history, but since ancient times, the position of principal had always been vacant. Even now, this tradition was still abided by. Everyone knew that there was a principal in Tianwu Academy, but no one knew his exact identity. Upon hearing Du Xiaofu say that the elder was the founder of Tianwu Academy, as well as the mysterious principal, how could they not be astonished? Don't be in a daze, hurry up and pay your respects. Du Xiaofu chided with a smile. Then, he patted the shoulders of the shocked general and said, everyone immediately recovered from their daze. How could they dare to be slow? They immediately bowed and greeted the principal respectfully. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu introduced the general, Ghost Child, Gu Xinyan, Guo Xiaofeng, Zhang Yishan, Yu Yu, and the others to the principal of Tianwu Academy. These people were the strongest in Tianwu Academy, and the strongest among them had already reached truth-severing realm. Their cultivation speed couldn't be said to be slow. Upon seeing the principal, everyone was agitated. This was truly a legendary existence. Because of him, the highest position in Tianwu Academy had always been reserved, and no one had ever taken it. Other than the current members of Tianwu Academy, the other experts of divine martial world who had cultivated in Tianwu Academy also stepped forward to pay their respects to the principal. Senior principal, you mean that you will be overseeing divine martial world? After the introductions, Du Xiaofu asked the principal. Others might not know, but he knew that the principal was a terrifying existence at the third meditative realm. With him overseeing divine martial world, he could be at ease. In the entire 33 skies, there were very few people who could pose a threat to him. That's right. I'll leave the matters outside to you youngsters. When the time comes, I'll appear. As for the rear, leave it to me. The principal nodded his head and looked at Du Xiaofu. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu finally let out a long sigh of relief and felt relieved. He secretly transmitted a message to Du Tingxian, Zhen Qingchun, Du Yunlong, General, Ghost Child, and a few others, causing them to tense up. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Third meditative realm. The content of Du Xiaofu's transmission truly revealed the level of strength of the principle of Tianwu Academy. The current divine martial world had already come into contact with many matters related to the 33 skies, and they had a rough understanding of the living beings in the outside world. They were no longer as clueless as before. Therefore, everyone knew very well what the third level of meditative forgetfulness meant. In fact, Du Tingxian, Zhen Qingchun, Du Yunlong, General, Ghost Child, and the others were all shocked. It was hard for them to imagine that the principal who founded Tianwu Academy in the small divine martial world was actually such a terrifying expert. No one could understand. Back then, the strongest living beings in divine martial world were only at the Saint Realm. How did they receive the favor of such an expert? My name is the Holy Emperor, and the people of the outside world often refer to me as the Holy Emperor. This world is doing well. There are finally great changes, and it's much stronger than before. All of you will have great prospects in the future. The principal of Tianwu Academy spoke again as he swept his gaze across the crowd. He was extremely gratified, especially when he saw the group of experts from Tianwu Academy. His eyes were filled with satisfaction. Tianwu Academy was extremely powerful in this world. It was a sacred ground in divine martial world, and countless living beings were attracted to it. It could be said that other than the desolate country, Tianwu Academy was one of the strongest forces in the world. Holy Emperor, Du Xiaofu smacked his lips. This title was extremely domineering, and it was indeed befitting of the principal's status and cultivation. Senior Holy Emperor, since that's the case, I'll leave divine martial world in your hands. I'll immediately head to Transcendent Harmony Heaven to take a look at the situation there. Only then can I be at ease. After another round of conversation, Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and said to the principal, who was also the Holy Emperor. Without any worries, Du Xiaofu could leave with peace of mind. You guys can go. Leave this place to me. The Holy Emperor nodded and said to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu did not delay any longer. He immediately brought Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and a few other experts from Transcendent Harmony Heaven and left divine martial world. After they left, many experts from the other worlds in the 33 heavens hesitated. They did not know if they should stay or leave. This world was very strange. It suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and it aroused their interest. Many people had long wanted to explore this place. After all, this place was vast and sparsely populated. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth and resources were innumerable. It was completely different from the 33 heavens where there were too many monks and too little gruel. Everyone, if you're here just to find out what's going on, or to look for some opportunities, I welcome you on behalf of the Shenwu world. However, let me give you a word of advice. If anyone dares to act recklessly in this world, don't blame me for not showing mercy. When that time comes, no matter how powerful the faction behind you is, you'll be wiped out. The Holy Great Emperor's expressions suddenly darkened when he saw the expressions of the experts who came from the outside world, and he said these words. His eyes were like knives, shooting out sharp rays of light that pierced through the void. A large area of chaos appeared, causing the scalps of those who looked at it to go numb. This was a form of deterrence. The purpose was to prevent the experts from the outside world from acting recklessly and wantonly robbing the large amounts of resources in this world. Before, with Du Xiaofu's existence, no one dared to act rashly. However, now that he had left, many people began to stir. As expected of the Holy Emperor. His words are domineering. Du Tingxian, Du Yunlong, Jialo Juiyu, Changguyu, and the others were all amazed by the Sky Marshal Dean's domineering words. At this moment, they all knew that the Dean was a terrifying expert. To be able to say such words, he naturally had the confidence to do so. In reality, what they did not know was that the faction behind the Dean was much more terrifying than they had imagined. Of course, many people from the 33 heavens did not know about this. Someone frowned when he heard the Holy Emperor's words. Senior, you may be very strong, but to dare say such words, you're looking down on the beings of the 33 heavens too much. This was an expert from the beast race. He had a single horn on his head, and his entire body was invisibly flowing with powerful origin energy. At a glance, one could tell that he was a terrifying expert. As he spoke, he looked at the people around him. He thought that at this moment, many people would unite with him. If they really wanted to fight, they would definitely fight against the old man together. Seventh sky of immortal realm. The Holy Emperor glanced at the one-horned expert indifferently. He did not even look at him. It seems that you are not convinced. That's fine. I'm a person who is afraid of trouble. I don't like to have enemies staring at me from behind, whether they are powerful experts or ants. If anyone dares to be my enemy, I'll kill them directly. So, you can go to hell now. As soon as he finished speaking, the void around the one-horned expert suddenly distorted. A terrifying energy wantonly rushed out like a raging tide and swallowed the one-horned expert's body. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.